I'm here to stand on my soapbox and proclaim that to the world.
On this show.
This is the hottest show on the planet right now.
What's the debate?
Ain't no debate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to the Vocal Soapbox. Welcome to the Vocal Soapbox. I am your gracious host, Enos, man. I'm here with my guys, man. I'm going to go ahead and introduce. Got a new guest to the platform. What's going on, Bear?
What's going on, man? How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling all right. Anything you want to say to our audience before we get started, man?
How y'all feeling out there tonight, man?
All right.
Oh, man.
Okay. Then we got my guy. Welcome back, man. Victor, man. Accountable masculinity. What's good?
What's going on, man? I heard we gonna talk reckless and classy today.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's always a good thing, man, right? All right, what's up, Vulcan? We here, man. Back. Still doing it.
Oh, man. Here we go.
Yeah, man.
What's going on, my people?
This has to be part of the show from this point on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's company tradition.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get right into it, man. The first topic, Dame Dash, Jay-Z, they've been going, well, I was about to say back and forth, but they've been saying a lot of things about Jay-Z over the years. And, Jay's going through, Dame Dash is going through a lot of financial hardships right now. So it was this music executive talking about that situation. I'm going to go ahead and play that video. I want to get y'all thoughts on this, man. Let me know if y'all can see that on the screen. Here we go. Are we good?
Yep.
All right, let's go.
Happening with Dame is some real high school-ish to me. It's like happening with Dame is some real high school-ish to me. It's like, oh, the man is going through something.
Record exec Dame Dash owes $20 million in unpaid tax. So every company Dame Dash owns has been seized.
No one should enjoy watching that. And I'm being honest with you, it kind of makes me lose a little respect for him. I'm gonna tell you why. Because I know Memphis Bleak is your man. He went on record saying he'll always be a millionaire, right? Because Memphis Bleak is your man.
Bleak could be one hit away his whole career. As long as I'm alive, he's a millionaire.
I get it, Tata's your man. Those are his little mans that he looked out for. Dame was your peer. And to me, if I'm up 2.5 billion, I'm not gonna let somebody who I loved, like they still the godfather of each other kids. Jay can make one phone call and change that man's life. He can make one phone call and help that man.
But depending on what Dame did to him,
I don't care what he did to you, because what did he do for you?
Man. All right, man. I'm gonna start off with Bear. What's up, man? Should Jay-Z help? I'm got distracted with the comment. Shout out to Didi Red Temple. Said howdy. What's up, Didi Red? All right. So should Jay-Z help Dame Dash? Man, talk to me, Bear. What's going on?
All right. I'm gonna get an unpopular opinion.
All right. I'm here for it.
What age a man need to keep getting help? They 50 plus.
Say it one more time.
And at what age do a man got to keep getting help? 50 plus, right? Didn't Kanye just get his man $10 million a few years ago? You keep the bag. Why am I keep giving the nigga money who keep fumbling the bag? And then you just keep my name in your mouth. I mean, I ain't saying that it's that he should gloat and take be happy in what he's going through, but at the same time, do he really owe this nigga? It ain't like when they said Tata his man's, Bleak his man's, all them grew up in the same area, same neighborhood. Dame was just his business partner. When the business and the relationship ends, do you go do favors for your old boss at work when you leave the job? That's a good question. Let's move it around. So basically, you already you standing with the opposite what the guy was saying. He was like, nah, you shouldn't help him. We grown. So, all right, before I get to my guy Victor, man, let me introduce my guy Freshly Snipes. What's up, bro?
Going on, everybody?
What's up with it?
All right, so
can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. All right, we bring you up to speed. I'm gonna get Victor up in here about should Dame I mean, should Jay-Z help Dame out his financial situation?
Man, Jay-Z ain't the government. He ain't supposed to be bailing nobody out. Dame got to fix his own situation, you know. He done touched money too. He been around it. He know the same folks. Dame got to clean up his own situation. Ain't nobody coming to bail nobody out on this panel. So Dame got the same responsibility for himself that we got for ourselves.
Damn, both of y'all cold. Nobody wants to help the person that helped him start his stardom. That's what the guy was saying. Let me bring my guy Freshly Snipes in here. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think Jay should help Dame Dash?
I mean, if the operative word is should, then no, man. That's a grown man.
Mm.
That's a grown man who kicked dirt on the man's name every chance he get a mic in front of him.
Yeah.
I can't see anybody justifying, like, can he help him? Sure. Would it be cool? Sure. Should? I can't see where anybody would place an obligation on Jay to help Dame, especially with all the extra stuff he's been doing.
Yeah.
He's a habitual bridge burner, man.
So habitual.
Hey,
He's a habitual bridge burner.
that man counting that man pockets in broad daylight too. You know what I'm saying? Stop counting that man pockets.
Yeah, he's a professional bridge burner, man. Imagine burning a bridge and then looking back over the river like, you ain't gonna help me. You said, heck no.
If Cam ain't even helping him, that's his man's. That's his man's from Harlem.
Cam said, you're right. He talked about his poor spending habits. And why he should and could be on right now.
And then you can't have a piss poor attitude and be, an arrogant cocky, make somebody come help.
Man, he was arrogant like that when he was Jay. It served him good then.
Okay,
Jay was able to knock down a lot of doors because Dame was that a-hole. Let me bring Volk in here, man. What's your thoughts, man? Should Dame help? I keep saying it. Should Jay-Z help Dame Dash?
I think the difficulty probably with this question is we're coming at this time in history. So it's just like any other situation, you might see a married couple and somebody would be like, you might be telling somebody a story about a situation with a couple and they may be like, well, what are you doing now to help? It's like they're asking you, what are you doing right now? It's not, they're not factoring everything you did before you told them what was going on. And so I can see a good case that he should have helped whenever he first noticed Dame's decline, however many years back that was. And I'm pretty confident that Jay-Z did offer help in many different ways at some point in time. At this stage in the game now, I think it's fair to assume that they're way beyond all of that kind of stuff at this point. So no, he shouldn't do it right now. I don't think anybody should expect him to do it right now because I'm sure not just Jay-Z, but everybody in that camp, from Kanye to everybody that's been involved with what they had going, has probably told Dame, including Cameron, all those guys, you got to chill out, bro. And if you got Cameron telling you got to chill out, you went too far. So the should is probably way back in the past, many, many moons ago. And at this point now, it's letting the grown man do what he got to do. Partly because people talk about his poor spending habits. What do we know about Cam? I mean, Dame, he's been very open about how he views money and how he deals with money. He said he puts all his work in the streets. He doesn't like having a liquid. He likes to put his work out in the streets and hope it multiplies. Sometimes it don't come back to you like that. Sometimes those investments don't work out. And you got to live with the fact that, yeah, exactly. And you got to live with the fact those big risks you took cost you. And the only way to really learn from that is not to have somebody bail you out, but to learn the process of how to make better investments and how to make better business partners.
Should at any point in time.
We got to stop using that word.
Where does should come from? Where's the obligation at all? Like they went into business together. They both, even if in terms of Dame's decline, right? Let's just say that started happening 10 years ago. Did they not both come out? Now Dame would say, I don't think I got what I should get, but he ain't sue the man, he ain't win. They came out and went their separate ways. And hear Dame talk about it, he's up. He don't work for no man, right? No man is his boss. He made all these money moves. At what point does should Jay-Z help Dame out? It can't just be off the strength, because where's the strength? Dame been talking ish about Jay the whole time.
Yeah, why do
I
we
just
assume?
don't understand the obligation at all. Like,
and you can make the case that Jay-Z is still helping him because people still ask him about Jay-Z on all the different platforms. It helps to keep Dame relevant because Jay-Z has done so well for himself since their departure.
I ain't heard Jay-Z dub him once in the public. And according to the rest of the industry, if Jay-Z whisper about you, it's tanked.
Well, let me ask you, if that was your partner, I know would y'all help your friend? That y'all came up together, y'all made millions of dollars, close to half $500 million. He said some things. He's mad about the direction you took. Well, your business decision. Would you help him?
It'd be very difficult to help somebody because I'm sure the things that are hurting Dame Dash are the very things that they've all discussed with him prior. So it's one thing if something sneaks up out the blue with my boy and hits him. I'm like, okay, I got you on that one. I got you 6. But it's another thing. It's like, hey, look, man, you got to stop doing this. It's gonna come back and get you. Hey, you got to stop doing this. It's gonna come back and get you. And then it gets him, and it's like, and I got to bail you out. That's a different story.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna chime in real quick. We got to remove the tag of how much money Jay got, because I don't think that's relevant. Everyone keeps saying, man, he up 2.5 bill. So what? What does how much he has have to do with it? I don't like that. You have so much, you should. I don't like that obligation based on how much. So if I had less, I wouldn't have to. Well, where's the obligation based on how much he has? He has so much that it would mean nothing to him. You don't know what that man got. You don't know what he got tied up.
That's funny. Help the bear to read the comments. Help the bear say, "Yeah, but help him fall off." That's cold, man.
And you got to remember, Dame is not one of those guys you can just help. He comes with a big ego. You don't know what he might drag you all throughout you offer him a deal he doesn't like or he thinks is beneath him. He may drag you all throughout the media.
Listen, my thing is this: everybody say Jay should help his friend. They're not
friends.
Dirt. He grew up with that guy. They business partners. That business deal is over with. Once the business is over, it's like
y'all can hear him.
Yeah. As like I said in the first clip, do you do favors for your old boss when you leave the job? They didn't grow up as homies. He still got all his close homies with him.
Yep. You're right about that.
Tata, Emery, Myth, and all the rest of them, they still with him. All his old business partners is the ones that's gone. So they wasn't really just friends off the rip. That was just somebody he went in business with. The business deal is over. It's over.
Yeah, why Biggs ain't helping out? Why ain't nobody calling on Biggs?
Yeah.
He was the original money man.
And Biggs still got M's.
Yep, I ain't heard nobody dub Biggs. Man, Biggs should help his man's out. His man's out here looking bad. It's Jay-Z is a target because he's the biggest brand. You right about that. They was business partners, and as close as you were, but even based on how they left that relationship, and we looking at it with that scenario, Jay quit that job. Jay got a different job.
He got promoted.
In the wide world, yeah, he went and he took a better job. Why would you look back and be like, I'm gonna help my former manager out, even though he half the reason I left?
Because like the professional bridge burning, the way blowing up, relationships with people that you're gonna have to see again anyway, and they're gonna be hands off of you because they're not gonna feel safe, you know what I'm saying, talking. And the way Dame was handling business, imagine how it would be to talk to him in person. You know what I'm saying? Like he might have all of the salesman language that's necessary, like while you talking candidly, but you don't know what that means when you're not in front of him, because people like that are hard to trust.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah, Didi Red said, I think Jay played him to a certain degree. All right, so look, what we're going to do, let's just go around the room. Let's start with Ben and get your closing statements on this topic, because it's mixed thoughts. Some people say help him. He's a billionaire. What is it? Pay $10 million, whatever whatever Dame needs is nothing to Jay-Z. So wherever y'all close the thoughts, keep it concise, less than a few minutes, 2 minutes. Let's start with my guy Bear.
I mean, I still stand on how I start. I'm gonna finish the race how I started it. He don't owe him nothing. He didn't do him dirty when he left. You know, it's just, hey, we grown. At the end of the day, we grown. You know what I mean? It's just what it is. You gonna keep begging that man for help, or you gonna help yourself?
Okay. All right. Victor.
Do you expect somebody to come into your life and pay off all of your bills and pick up all your burdens that you created? Or do you so if the answer is no, then it's no across the board. You know,
like a female to me.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like an angry, bitter baby mama. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like it's single mother behavior, dog. You know what I'm saying? Let it go.
All right, Fresh.
Listen, I'm gonna put this out there real quick. Just in Dame's defense, we are discussing what people said about him. I haven't heard Dame ask Jay for nothing or ask for help, period, out loud. So let's just leave it. Let's put it at that. But in terms of just the overall concept, man, Jay don't owe him nothing. There's no obligation for Jay to help him outside of the kindness of his heart. And I don't know why he would have any kindness in his heart for Dame when Dame was a habitual bridge burner. Not only did he burn bridges with Jay, but he burned bridges with pretty much everybody in the industry, because Jay is definitely not the only.
You sound like Django. He says, if I was economic, I don't know why I'd be inclined. How did he say it in Django?
If I was to be inclined, and I don't know why I would. Yeah, man. He burned all the bridges that he can, not only with Jay but the rest of the industry. So he's essentially sleeping in the bed that he dug himself.
Are y'all hearing that noise? Are y'all hearing that noise? When I get close to the mic? Okay, good. It's just me. Okay, cool.
Just your t-shirt screaming, I don't fit
you. You see how far tight shirts jokes get you?
But Fresh, you remember Dame did apologize. He apologized to Leora, Jay-Z. He said he was going through a lot when Leah passed away. So you remember that viral video? He apologized to everybody. So they should forgive him, man.
He was going through a lot for 12 years. Stop.
Maybe longer than that, right?
It's
definitely been longer than that.
All right, Vulcan.
Yeah, everybody said it really well. We all agree that shouldn't be in there. I mean, Now, again, only thing I would say that might be slightly different than what we're hearing online is I think this was applicable at some point in time or applicable at some point in time in the distant past. But where we are now, Jay-Z's done as much as he can, as much as anybody could say that he should as a friend to Dame. He's free and clear.
Agreed.
Shout out to Help the Bear. He said he did. He talking to Fresh. Oh, CJ, who's CJ? He didn't give him 2 weeks notice, CJ. I don't think Jay is coming back. Not to help him anyway.
Yeah, you're right about that. And if anything about what Dame said about Jay is true, like that he snaked him or anything, he definitely can't ask him for no help.
All right. Shout out, if you did give them 2 week notice, at some point they realize I don't mess with them anymore. Yeah, but you don't give them 2 weeks. You want them to feel that, man. All right, so next on hip hop news, my guy from one of my favorite MCs, Jadakiss, is from the legendary group D Block. He was on Joe Budden podcast, but it was a few weeks. I don't know the time period, but I want to get y'all thoughts on that. They was having a discussion. He was on there with his father. They both are in the coffee business and had an interesting dialogue. I want to get y'all thoughts on this about his upbringing. Let me know if y'all can see that on. Here we go. I'll ask mute y'all background so we can hear the video fine.
Out of parental guidance that we won't ever be having, and a decision that big, that's crazy.
Well, to that point, since he became a father, he just came to appreciate growing up in a 2-parent household Actually, it was a label
That's what
that
I'm
he
saying.
didn't really want to talk about.
That's what I'm
because
saying.
it wasn't street. I mean, and he didn't tell you he went to private school, and we had
no, that wasn't that nigga that started something. I didn't hear it in there.
I don't know. That ain't want to put me on the summer jam.
You was Clarence
put
from
me on that summer jam screen. Huh?
You was Clarence from the other side of 8
Mile.
Mile
On the summer jam screen.
Just goes to show you don't have to be of the hood to be in the hood. Right, or vice versa.
We still lived in the hood, though.
Right, we still lived in the hood.
We wasn't coming from Bel Air. We was doing all of this in the hood.
I did the same shit with my mom. She heard all that poverty rhyme. She's like, "Wait, huh? Poverty? No, you had a good home. Don't get out there lying." But for some of us, it'd be a choice.
Fact.
Like we don't have to go this way, but it's right there. It look good outside, and like I go see what's going on. So Jadakiss went to college. Private school. I'm writing all this shit down.
Styles and Chic went there too. Though.
Nah.
They did.
You can't do that.
I ain't snitching. They did.
It was the same school.
P and Luke, we all went to the same school. Then P went to the jail. The jail was right next to the college. We ended up going to do the semester in the jail when we got the deal. Then we put him in the deal.
Street.
Yeah, he was across the street in Valhalla in the jail.
So when do you realize?
All right, fellas. All right. So does Jadakiss two-parent household upbringing or two-parent upbringing undermine the street persona? Let's go with my guy, Bear.
I'm first. Well, no, 'cause one of my best friends grew up in a two-parent house. His father's a cop. Boy got more felonies than I got tattoos. Like, you know what I mean? And then the fact that I'm originally from Yonkers. I went to private school. I went to private school. I still ended up in prison. Like, you know, you can't never judge a book by its cover. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really just say, okay, now, do you have a better chance coming from a two-parent home and all that? Yeah. But you still could be individually you and make dumbass decisions as a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just parents got it figured out. I mean, you're going to have it figured out.
All right. I do want to touch on that. You have a better chance with two kids. Let's bring Victor around. Matter of fact, let's just do this. Let's just do yes or no as far as the question, Victor. And then I want everybody to go ahead if you want to chime in and give y'all personal. There we go. Is that back on? Oh, yeah. And give y'all personal experiences or whatever. Let's get Victor. Yes or no? Does Jadakiss two-parent upbringing undermine his street persona?
No.
All right. Let's go with Fresh.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's go with Vulcan.
Yes, it does.
Ooh. All right. All right. So we got Bears breakdown already. Let's start with Victor.
I think a lot of it has to do with region. I didn't grow up in Yonkers, you know, so I don't know how Yonkers is formatted, you know. But I did grow up in a place in the South that the projects is across the street from some of the two-parent homes. And then a lot of the times your family is still in the projects, even though like you might be in a community that's outside of it or whatever. That doesn't mean that you don't still spend a lot of your time where the rest of your relatives are. So you can still get involved with a lot of the same stuff. You don't all the time have peers where you live at, you know. You have your peers where you spend the majority of your time. And what I do know about like more schools up north like that, if they have a lot of private money involved because of the public schools are probably overcrowded and people trying to put their kids in the best situation possible, they still take with them the mindset of whatever they're doing, no matter where they are. You know, it's more so about how much time do your kids spend with other people that are influenced the same way. So because like you preachers' kids still ending up being street kids. Like every time you look up and you see some preachers' kids, they doing something wild. Not just
right.
so. I think
Let me get fresh here. Talk to me, man.
So I think everyone kind of forgets a little bit why the street culture or why the street angle has such an allure. It's really the rags to riches story. So typically the allure, the draw to it comes out of the necessity, right? You made it from nothing using your skill set. You got up out of the gutter. It really kind of undermines it. I like the way that you put it. It does undermine it. I don't think it does away with it because whatever he did, if all of it's above board and he did it, but it does undermine his reason for doing it now, because now it's not like you were struggling, you had to get up out the struggle, and this is the only way to do it was moving packs on the block, right? It's like, okay, you had other options and you chose to do this, so it takes a little bit of it off of it. If it's not if it was a choice, because now it's almost like you cosplaying. Whether you cosplay good or not is not it's not the same thing, right? It's more about the intention. So it's like you didn't have to be here, you didn't have to do these things, you did them. So now it's like it's almost, and I really hate to put these two in the same category because of how much I respect the artistry of the locks, but it's almost like 6ix9ine. Like 6ix9ine definitely got in the street and was doing what he was doing for that brief stint while he was out there wilding, but he was a good kid from a two-parent household. That's why everyone was so against him. Like, you don't even belong out here. Like, you don't need to be doing this. I know. I listen. I try to preface that. I try to soften the blow, but at its core, it's the same thing. At its core, it's the same thing as somebody who didn't have to be out there doing that stuff. Out there doing that stuff.
Somebody else was 6ix9ine.
Let me get
without the
Volk in
rap.
here. All right, Volk, talk to us, man. Talk to the audience.
Real quickly, Bear, did you say that it undermined his street persona? Which one did you say?
Yeah, I said it doesn't.
Okay, it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Freshly said the point that I wanted to say. He just said it better than I was going to say it. The thing for me is this. It does undermine the persona. I'm putting a key emphasis on the persona. When I heard what Victor said, I think that I agree with what they are saying as well. It doesn't matter what your background, where you come from. You can choose to still fall into that allure of the street life. And I think that's their point, and I 100% agree with that. But the persona, which means how people are perceiving them, is definitely going to be impacted because growing up, and Enos can attest to this, we would have conversations, and the biggest rebuttal or rejoinder I would get when I would ask why a lot of my friends were so caught up in the esteem and the allure of a lot of these street rappers, they said, like Freshly said, this is rag to riches things. They had no choice. They were wrapped up in this environment and they came out of it successful, millionaires. They turned a bad situation, they turned lemons into lemonade. Then you find out they didn't have lemons to begin with. They had lemonade already. And then they had spiked lemonade. So you realize that once you realize that, a lot of that allure is gone. A lot of that that mystique I want to use about the street persona and all the things they had to endure and all the persecution they had to deal with being in certain environments where people are trying to constantly trying to take from you and bully you. And so you have to be bigger, you have to be badder. So when a lot of young men are walking around with that bravado, we go, I can understand why you had to walk around with that kind of a bravado, because that bravado is what kept the people off his back. So it's okay that you pretend like a peacock. A peacock makes himself big and shows his beautiful feathers because he's trying to get the women, right? And we know that's the game. You ain't no other way of getting a female peacock unless you do that, right? In the same way, when you find out that, hold on, he didn't have to do that. He already, his parents gave him women already. He didn't have to show his feathers and stuff. Why is he walking around showing his feathers, making himself a bigger target for predators?
I want to make one more point when you get done. All right.
Yeah, and so sure, just my last piece about that is, so that's why it takes away from the allure, because you realize these guys were just fans. These guys were just gullible fans of a deceptive lifestyle. I'll say this last story right here, and I'll get back to you, Fresh. I was playing ball at this spot, and there was this guy, and he's from where we're from, like considered like the worst area of San Antonio is the East Side, right? And so there's a guy who's from considered the worst part, the most respected, esteemed part as far as like street activity goes in the Black community. And there's another guy who's from Lakeside, which you'll know where that is, which is still East Side, but then he also spent some time on the Northeast side.
East Side.
Yeah, so that's debatable and whether that's considered East Side or not, right? But it's on the other side of 10. It's on the other side of 10. And
you can't redistrict the city.
And so what happened was one time the guy from the Sticks, which is one of the main places in East Side where people get a lot of street credibility, says, "Why do y'all want to be from the East Side like us so bad?" He's talking to a guy who's another street dude, but a more northern street dude. So he's not East Side. And this guy, when he's in his area, people look at him as the street dude. But when the East Side guys came over, now he's not the street dude anymore because the East Side guys are there and they're more street. And so he said, "Why do you want to be us so bad?" And he goes, "Because y'all made it look so good."
Mm-hmm.
And I just happen to be able to hear him say that. And that's what Jadakiss and a lot of these guys you find out really were. They were just fans. They were fans of the lifestyle. They were caught up in the allure of it. And they chose to do criminal activity and be a party to, if not do it themselves, terrorize their communities because they were just weak-willed. They had weak spirits, brittle spirits.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna add this real quick before everybody else gets on, because I know I guess got something to add. I want to point out that the rap game, hip hop, has made the violence and the drugs in the community, has glamorized it to the point where some of us think that stuff is okay. You have to go back to the essence where we accepted those things because it was deemed necessary to make it out of a certain way of life, right? But once you take that away, right? Once you put that back on there, that no, drug dealing, violence, especially against your own community, all that stuff, those crimes, they're still illegal, they're still bad, right? And then you remove the necessity to do bad things to improve your situation. Now we're looking at people who are just doing crime for the sake of doing crime because it looks cool. And that definitely, in terms of your street persona, it takes a hit because you don't have to do these wrong things. It's like now, oh, you're choosing to terrorize us. You didn't have to be down here. You came down here in order to get it. You walked into the lion's den willingly, so you could say you was in the lion's den. You never had to be in there.
All right, let me help the bear say that at least Dave Chappelle just didn't correct people. My guy Jadakiss lied to us. Enos ruins another rapper for me. R.I.P. Meek. Yeah, Meek disappointed a lot of people.
I want to say something before we close this topic out.
Go ahead.
You got two parents don't mean you not in the hood, because that two parents, they still was in the hood. You see what I'm saying?
That's what he said on the video.
Yeah,
he said that.
So two parents, I just know, because from personal experience, like I say, one of my closest friends got two parents. The boy got more felonies than I got tattoos. I got like 18 of them. Having two parents doesn't necessarily make you automatically not from where you from.
But that's real quickly.
Bel Air. Oh, he had two parents and they live rich. Like I said, I went to private school. You go to private school in New York off of grants. You know that, right? You don't have to be rich to go to private school in New York. You get grants for that.
That's good to know. Yeah.
So like, you know,
that's what I'm saying. Like, you gotta know.
You get grants to go to private school anywhere.
Yeah. So like, especially back then, like he a little older than me, so I know like you don't have to be rich to go to private school up there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, you mind sharing why you're emphasizing
that you have though? It's the exposure though. So even if you go to private school, you are exposed now to different opportunities.
Well, hold on, Fred. Before you spoke, Vulcan, you want to ask him again why he's emphasizing what?
I think me and Fresh are on the same page, but I'm just going to ask you. I don't know. I was just saying I was going to put it in the form of a question to give it back to Bear. Like, why are you emphasizing that point?
No, I'm just saying that to say like you can't take someone's credibility, you know, whether they authentically who themselves because of you got two parents. You know,
you talking about persona.
My father died.
Yeah.
But that's why I was mentioning before. This is talking about the persona.
Yeah.
See, you were saying the persona, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
we're saying taking away all of a person's credit. Like some of the rough guys I know had mom and dad in the house. Like I saw this.
Yeah.
This ain't a Young Jeezy situation. Like Young Jeezy's persona is now more important than his street credibility. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like all of that conversation with BMF and how he was tied to everything on the street side of stuff, they questioned that later, you know. But his persona ain't never took a hit. But the other thing is too, Jadakiss got the respect of his peers. So
100%.
So that's different. You know what I'm saying? Because his craft is his craft. His skills speak for itself. That's where it kind of like balances out.
Yeah. Well, again, it's hard. I mean, you're right about his skill set. It does balance out because in the rap game, he does what he does. Top 5 dead or alive, right? It ain't a whole bunch of people who could do what he could do.
Yep.
But the allure of the rap game,
and he had advantages.
Backpack rappers, there's a bunch of backpack rappers who could rap their ass off. Pardon my language. That can't. They don't give you that feel. And that if we really want to look at the essence of, and it's not just overall hip hop, right? This is gangster rap, for lack of a better word. This is Jadakiss, the Locks. They are gangster rappers. They're not backpack rappers. They're not conscious rappers. They rap about street activities. It takes away a little bit of that feel. I was watching an interview with man, what is this dude's name? Casanova. After jail, he denounced all of his stuff, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, because he got all those years. He says it's not gang no more. I seen that.
But even go further back than that, he talks about how he grew up where he grew up. He had an 8-bedroom household. His mom had money. He was essentially saying like, I didn't have to do that stuff. And again, now you're talking about crime for the sake of crime, and it takes a little bit away because
a lot of way.
Yeah,
I think it takes more than just a little bit. I think it takes everything away.
Story is not.
Everybody gonna be DMX, man.
Yeah. Because my whole thing is like this. To Bear's point, really quick, it doesn't matter whether you have a 2-parent home, a 3-parent home, whatever the case may be. A gangster or somebody who's rough and tough, that's just somebody who chooses to be an aggressive, coercive person. That's got nothing to do with your background or where you come from. You can be, an alien can show up on this planet right now. We don't even know what his background is, but if he starts beating people up and threatening people and saying, if you come and do this to me, I'm gonna do this to you, I'm gonna say that's the dude's a gangster. He could, on his planet, he could have 10 parents and have a 12-bedroom home for all we know. The actions,
you gotta ask why though.
The gangster just has to do, the gangster just has to do with how you move in society. You see what I'm saying? But my thing is, it takes away from it when we know that you had access to more education. You had a great literacy rate. We can hear in their music, these guys are very intelligent people about how they put their syllables together and all those different kind of things, how they put the rhymes together.
As hell, Jim Jones was working on Wall Street before he was a rapper. Like up north is different. And I'm not trying to be funny.
That's what makes it so sad.
I lived on both aesthetics. I was both raised down. And most people think the dropout rate is higher down south than it is up north. That's just being real.
Yeah,
I lived on both. It's like it's nothing for somebody to be from the streets but still be done went to school and graduated and they can articulate.
But I think what Vulcan was saying, he said that's what makes it worse. It makes it worse because
I get that, and it's like they still made that. That's just like okay.
It's just diversity.
What I'm trying to say is, I don't see it taken away from the credibility of being street because you had access to other things. That just mean I feel like some people don't take advantage of the opportunity they do have in other places. There's mad people that got plenty of opportunities everywhere else. They just don't take advantage of them.
All right. Anybody disagree? Anybody disagree with Bear saying?
A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't."
Hold on, Bear. Hold on. Anybody disagree with Bear saying?
Can we restate it? Because I'm hearing more than one point. I'm hearing at least 2 points.
All right. What points you want to convey the most? Let's start with that first, Bear.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh well. My point was that I feel like it doesn't take away from the authenticity of who he is because he had 2 parents or because
All right, that's it.
Because
we can start right there. As far as this gangsterism, let's take the music out because music is persona. How we listen to the music is more entertainment. That's different. But just as a gangster, a person that's in the streets, they're saying it doesn't take away from that. And
his authenticity is not in question. He did if everything is above board, he did the things he said he did. He did them. So by definition, he is what he says he is. Again, when you talk about
so you agree with Bear there?
Well, I think we all agree that his gangster is not in question. It's his persona. Because again, now we're looking at why are you doing this? It's like, again, it's like a cosplay type of thing. Like if you come down, like to Vulcan's point, if an alien comes down here and gets to smacking people around, he is by definition what he says he is. The question is now, why the wanton violence, right? So you have, again, you look at all these criminal cases, the criminal psychologists, some of this stuff only becomes acceptable based on the necessity to do it, right? He
absolutely
had no
right.
choice. This was his environment. This is his only way to survive, right? He was required to do these types of vile, violent, evil things because his environment did not provide him other opportunities. When you start getting into the fact like, oh no, he had several opportunities. He chose this. He had private school, so he had access and exposure to other avenues.
He's reading the Odyssey. He's reading, Schindler's List. So he's being exposed to all these gangsters, real gangsters who deleted millions, and he's still choosing to act like that. He didn't tear up when he saw, read Schindler's List. Like
so the guy here to get out of
in the South, especially, where Enos and I graduated from, where people have low literacy rates. And the schools were almost 100% black for the most part. Some of them people could not read. They couldn't read. They read at a 4th, 5th grade level. So I'm not justifying or excusing their behavior, but it was more understandable that somebody like that might turn to a life of crime because you can't go to the military if you can't pass the ASVAB. You got to at least have an 84 IQ to get in the military. 85, I think, something like that.
Higher education. You don't have access to higher education. You can't go get an office job.
Hold on, Fred. Let me bring Bear in here. So,
can I say one more point real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say one more point real quick also. And then you look at throughout America, and I've been part of these types of programs where we try to help saving. We've been a part of programs called Saving Our Sons. Citibank has had programs, and part of the way we try to discourage that poor behavior is by educating the youth through these various programs. But when you have intelligent black men who went to private school still engaging in that horrible behavior, what hope is there for us? Because they're telling those same kids,
a gangster. He went to private school.
Yeah, we're telling all these kids that we're doing our investing money, trying to teach these kids and show these kids a better world. Part of the organization I was a part of, we took like over 50, 60 kids from the inner city to Disney World to show them a better way. When you got guys like that, so they can see the world's bigger than what it is, we think this stuff is going to help them to not get that involved in that kind of stuff. And then you got guys
the assumption is they don't know anything else.
They don't know.
They don't know that there's anything else out there. Let's expose them to it.
These guys are going against our message, saying you can know all that stuff and still be a gangster.
All right, let's bring Bear here. Any disagreements?
No, I get what they're saying totally, completely. I get what they're saying. But the thing is this. Having no know-how or you don't have another way is no excuse either, because I'm from the bottom of the barrel, bro. Like, DJ, you know what Bar Village at? That's what when I moved to Georgia, that was my first stop. Bottom of the barrel. I know more people from there that own their own businesses and stuff than people I know that wasn't from their area. So just because you're from there, it's like my mom taught us when we was young. Because you're from the ghetto, I mean you got to be of the ghetto. But at the same time, you are who you are. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean by that?
This, no matter your upbringing, stupid kids make dumb decisions every day. You get old, time brings about wisdom, and experience of life brings about wisdom and changing them. You know what I'm saying? You grow up, you get older, you think better. If you notice, the older they got, his music changed, his message changed in the music. You know what I'm saying? So takes experience. As a young kid that you 20 something, that's what he rapping about. But he got older, which I would expect. I would hope most artists do that. That's why they laughing at Jim Jones now. because he living his second childhood. But like,
Shout out to Jim Jones.
Shout out to Nas.
All right, let's
sir.
let's get to the
I didn't mean to get off topic, but yeah, I get exactly what y'all saying. But to me, when people say I had no opportunity, yeah, you did still, and yet and still you did, because I came from that. Going to the store, getting food, getting old food stamps, buying a pack of Nihilators, bringing the change back.
Shoot, plenty of police officers used to be in the street before they became cops. They from the same area.
But it's about choice. That's the perfect.
We get the choice, but the thing is though, that previous behavior doesn't undermine the current persona. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it still goes back to the choice. And as a man that was in the military for 12 years, I can tell you that people join the military and they still be street because it's conditioned into them. You know, they get to where they going, they're gonna find the hood, they're gonna find out what's good and what's going down because the activities associated with their behavior and what they're familiar with and the type of people they used to communicate with, it never goes away until they decide that they want something different. So
the choice is the operative word here. That's all I'm saying.
Until they want,
there's a choice.
Until they
you
want
you
something
chose
different.
that life and you got used to it. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. So I understand you kind of, but it's almost like you're indoctrinating yourself at that point in time. Like
because conditioning goes deep.
It does, but when you choose the conditioning is where we have the problem. Where you choose, like, I want to go do what they're doing. So yeah, you're entrenched and you're ensconced in that type of behavior. So I expect you to come out of that chosen lifestyle with doing those things. I'm not knocking that. So I'm saying, like, okay, Jadakiss, I'm gonna just say the locks, because they all went to the same school apparently. They came out of that environment that they placed themselves in, doing what people from that environment does. So it's not the authenticity of the individual, it's the persona, because the persona is that you didn't have a choice, right? Keep in mind, these are still crimes.
Yeah.
Right. They still doing these things that are wrong, but it's almost excusable, at least for us. And obviously not for the criminal justice system, but even us, right? We're looking at it like, you know what? What other choice did he have? He didn't have the opportunities, so he had to do these things. And it's like, no, he didn't. No, he had the opportunities to avoid the street life, and he chose to dive in there.
Well, let me give you another example too, right? Like Lawrence Fishburne's daughter, she chose to go into the adult film industry, and he disowned her because he said, "Hey, until you go to rehab, you can't be running around here with my name and." You know what I'm saying, getting tooted up on camera, you know?
Yeah.
So she didn't have to choose that.
Exactly. And it's the stigma on the
Yeah, we gotta sorry to interrupt, but we got the next question popping up. Said he'll be back in about 5 minutes. So the next question is, should authenticity in rap be based on lived experience or artistic expression? Where do we draw the line? We can start with Bear on that one. What you got?
I mean, really, we need to stop with this hip hop and holding people, because hip hop is the only genre where you got to actually live what you did. And
that's not true.
I'm not saying I want to hear no nigga talk about some stuff he didn't do, but I'm just saying we can't keep expecting these elaborate, lifestyles that we're hearing on these hip hop out and expecting somebody to actually, like, music is creative. It's an art form, you know what I'm saying? So if you're an artist, you're making art. It's part of your imagination. It takes imagination to make it.
So sorry, Bear, real quick. We just read the question, and then Bear was going first on answering the question. So sorry, Bear, were you done, or you had some more?
No, that's pretty much it. I'm just saying, like, we can't. I know half of rap is imagination because I used to rap when I was younger. Now, do you got to stick to the script? You got to be talking about stuff you actually lived. Yeah, but I'm saying, like, half of that stuff be imagination too, bro. It be stuff they saw and never did sometimes.
Okay. All right. So cool. So we talked about this. Let's just, for this topic, just give a short answer, and we're gonna go to the next topic. Let's go ahead and go with Victor after this. I mean, let's go with Victor next.
Should authenticity in rap be based on lived experience or artistic expression? I like to work backwards, so I'm gonna say artistic expression.
Okay. All right. What's up, Fresh?
I'm gonna say yes, it should be, or it should be based on lived experience. And we should draw the line at lived experience. Did you do it or did you not? And the whys. A lot of the beefs, right? Even the hip hop beefs, the rap beefs, the expectation, the standards that hip hop artists are held to is a standard of authenticity. No other genre demonizes rappers with ghostwriters as much as our genre, because it's purely supposed to be based off of your experiences. Our genre is a music of authenticity. Did you live it? Why'd you live it? Like, it's the telling of a story. Once you start telling other people's stories, even within the industry, right? It's considered fake. It's considered inauthentic. It's considered not 100. Just so you, I'm a child of hip hop, right? Even though I understand the environment that it came from, but it still makes me feel like nasty. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of Jay's lines was, you witnessed it from your porch, you scribbled it in your notepad. That hit hard because he was essentially saying, like, you're not really out here with us.
Looking at my project window.
Yeah, you're not really out here you're not out here in the field doing this stuff. How can you rap like you rap? How can you talk about the things that you talk about when you're not actually out here living these experiences? Now, again, once we turn to the fact that rap is an industry and all that good stuff, I understand. But if that's the case, then we're gonna basically abandon the origins. And listen, I don't benefit from it either way. So I'm not knocking. I'm just saying, if that's what we're saying, if we are allowing these things, then we are abandoning the origins of where hip hop came from. We're allowing it to be what these other genres are. And to Bear's
Hold on,
point
Fred.
earlier,
Let's get vocal because we're gonna go to the next topic.
hold
After
on, real
this.
quick. Let me just finish, because to Bear's point earlier, we're not the only genre that requires you to live to be authentic, right? Like, it's a whole bunch of country artists who have art against other country artists because they're not truly country, right? Beyonce, as country as you want to be, the Taylor Swifts, all of them, but they make the music, but they're still a sect of country music artists. Like, they're not real. That's not authentic. They're faking. They're cosplaying.
But real quickly, because I don't know it as well as you, are they saying they're not authentic because of the way they live their life, or because of the kind of music they make? I'm not familiar enough to know.
Because of the way they live their life.
It's not country. It's not a country life.
Yeah, you're not from the holler, right? You didn't grow up in the honky tonks.
Really,
and all that stuff.
In this country, if you want to be honest.
If you want to be honest, but we're just talking about what standards the genre holds as authentic.
Yeah.
All right, Vulcan.
Unfortunately, I gotta be the party pooper and just deconstruct the question. So, as Victor pointed out already, I think should is probably misplaced there. I think authenticity can be based off whatever the audience wants to base authenticity off of. I think that Freshly brings up a good point about hip hop's origins, but that can change, just like origins of all kind of things change over time. You listen to KRS-One on the origins of hip hop, and he looks at it as being different now. And hip hop is a bastardization of what it was supposed to be originally. And that's okay. And then you see Jeezy and Nas talk about the death of hip hop, and they battle about that. And then the East and the South and the West Coast have different debates on what hip hop's truly about. For the South was about the money and the beats, and for the East Coast it was about the knowledge and the D-boy, the B-boy and all that kind of different stuff. And so you're gonna have those debates, and everybody's gonna look at it different kind of ways. So I would say should is not the right question. That's going to be based on whoever you ask and why they're enjoying the genre and why they're making the genre. To the people at top who own the labels, they might not care about none of that stuff. They just want whatever sells the most, and you can make a legitimate claim that they're the ones who own the genre. You could make a case for that. I'm not saying you would necessarily win, but you could make a good case for that. You know, the artists have their own industry to try to get up at the hood, whatever it's going to take to sell. So I would say authenticity, and then I would say it's a bit of a false dichotomy. Should all authenticity in rap be based on lived experience, artistic expression? If they're going to be expressing themselves artistically, that's going to show up whether or not they're basing it off of lived experience or not. If they're rapping, that's artistic expression. So if they rap their lived experience or somebody else's or something that's not even possible in the real world, so it can't be anybody's lived experience, it's still artistic expression. So that's why I would say the question is a bit of a false dichotomy, because these two aren't the opposite ends. It's not one or the other. And so, and then where do you draw the line? I think the heart of the question is basically asking, you know, where do we draw the line on people rapping outside of what they personally experienced or personally done themselves? Now, I think that's a good question, but again, it depends on how you approach the genre. For some folks, at the end of the day, it's all about making money. And if that's what it's all about, you know, as Freshly's pointed out many times, whatever the consumer wants, that's what they're going to give you. That's what business is about. And he has a great point with that. And so you have the hip hop, you know, purists who say one thing. Yeah, you have rap purists, you have hip hop purists. Again, and you go different parts of the world, you're going to hear different types of things. So I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be opinionated, and nobody really is going to have the final blow to say my point is the best.
Well, I think once you define whether, go ahead, I'm fault.
I'm about to say, yeah, I could put this in the perfect context, because all of this is politics when it comes down to from the consumer, you know what I'm saying, that actually watches or consumes the, you know, like the content of it, right? You got purists, which would be like your conservatives, your Republicans, in, you know what I'm saying, in this genre. Then on this side, you got people that are cool with the liberal expression of, they'd be liberals. The artistic expression, that's all they care about, is whatever they want to cosplay as, you know.
Victor, would it be good to say in your analogy, the conservative may be like a KRS-One and the liberal may be like Leor Cohen?
Yeah, I mean,
would that be a good example?
Yeah, I would say that will probably go down with you, for sure. Because
Leor said, "I'm gonna put out whatever makes the money." He said,
exactly. That's
about money.
The liberal is going to be concerned with making the money. The conservative hip hop, you know, like
they're trying to conserve the essence of hip hop. Yeah.
And for that, because like a good example of that is Macklemore winning a Grammy a few years ago.
Was started.
Yeah, like with the commercialized award shows and stuff. All of that is about making money and popularity. You know what I'm saying?
That's hip hop as an industry, though. But hip hop, the genre, we had a very violent reaction to that. But so authenticity is still.
And that's my point. Like the purists over on this side, the ones that didn't like that, those guys are like, hey, man, those guys are saying, hey, man, you're appropriating our culture. And then by that time, you got too many vultures, like your Chuck D's, your Public Enemies, all of the guys that was the gatekeepers for the authenticity of the culture, your Rakims, all of the guys that's been goated long before that fall into, you know, the other favorite, like their artists are on other artists' top 5. You know what I'm saying? Because there's plenty of guys that can out rap quite a few different people, but the guys that can out rap and based on talent, they're not gonna get the most popularity. You know what I'm saying? Like even when we're looking at the Roots and Black Thought, we know Tariq, ain't nobody out rapping Tariq if he decide he wanted to turn up, but who gonna listen to him in mainstream outside of his loyal fan base? Like I'm a huge Killer Mike fan. You know what I'm saying?
I got something to say to that.
Yeah.
Hold on. We got with time crunch. We got some videos to cover. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, let's go to the next topic. All right, so the next topic we're gonna go to is this guy's been the face of a conscious movement. Speaking of Tariq, shout out to the Roots and a lot of the conscious rappers, Lord Jamal, these guys. But as far as teachers, this guy Billy Carson has been the face of the conscious movement, bringing them 90s back. All right, so I'm gonna get y'all thoughts on this. I'm gonna play this. Remember, mute your background.
Oh boy.
Hey, Fresh, mute your background. All right.
Oh, we already destroyed
real scientific studies that conscious thought backed by vocalization, in other words, cymatic frequencies coming out of your throat, talking, can actually affect the physiology of water. And so if your body is made of mostly water, every time you utter a word backed by conscious thought, that now has power over water, which is in your body. So every cell is listening to everything you say, and everything you say is being remembered permanently by every single cell. Forget the mind remembering. On a cellular level, you're remembering everything, and those cells respond to those cymatic frequencies coming out of your own vocal, through.
All right. Was y'all able? All right, y'all was able to hear that?
Yeah.
Manifesting, believing, sort of spiritual practice, man. I'm gonna ask Vulcan, where do you want to go with this video?
I guess we could just start off who agrees and disagrees, and then we can get into the why afterwards, just one by one.
All right. Let's start with my guy Victor.
I'm not high enough for that one.
All right, so I take that as a no.
Yeah, I don't have a vote either way right now. I'm riding this one out. And
okay. Bear.
I mean, I'm big on manifestation, man. If you see it and speak it, it could be done. So.
All right, so that's a yes. All right, Freshly. Muted.
I said this on other shows. Manifestation just doesn't have enough proof there's not enough data for it to be real. Hell of a switch though. Hell of a gear shift. Yeah, crazy.
All right. Let's go, Vulcan.
Yeah, I mostly disagree with everything that he said. Mostly disagree with everything. And I have to say it mostly because he may have said some things right, but his why is wrong. So I still can't give him full credit for it. You're gonna do the math problem. You
don't have to answer, Sway. You don't have to answer, Sway.
Boy, made me take my sunglasses off.
And he already got cooks by that white man online, so I can't support him no more.
See, I don't even know who Buddy is. I never seen him before. I just feel like
he believe in aliens and stuff, man.
I don't know who Buddy is.
This weird ass nigga believe in aliens.
Yeah.
He wild.
He's cooked in the
not the illegal kind either.
Yeah. Oh man. Like, yo.
All right, let's get Bear say he agree.
No, I'm saying
why you agree?
Heard of Buddy. I never seen Buddy before. I just believe in manifestation because of my personal life and what I've been through.
Okay.
You feel what I'm saying? You know my story, D.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. You know my story, so that's why. Just to give y'all a brief update. I was 19. I went to penitentiary. Did 15 years. Came home at 34. Hit the ground running and never looked back. Not because nobody gave me nothing. Not because it's because I wouldn't take no for an answer for anything I did. You know what I'm saying? I started out on an asphalt crew, shoveling the asphalt, making $10 an hour. I was happy as hell to do it for 70, 80 hours a week. And I manifested everything. Now I just recently started my own business. I've been driving trucks for almost 10 years. I just started my own business. And all of that come from hard work, but manifestation. I feel like I spoke it, I believed it, but I didn't work to do it.
Can you explain the manifestation part? I think all of us will probably agree with the hard work part. We know definitely hard work equals success a lot, most of the time. Can you explain the manifestation aspect of it?
Yeah, I feel like you got to speak. You have to speak life into life. Like I don't believe in like giving bad energy and bad things no life. I don't believe in shit like bad luck. Like, oh, if you put your head on, you know how black people got a superstition.
Can you give an example of speaking life? Like, can you give us a phrase or something you would say that would be speaking life?
A phrase?
Yeah, just can you speak life right now on camera?
Okay, like I spoke life into my life right now. I spoke this into existence a few years ago. What I'm doing,
saying, are you able to speak life right now? Is it something you could do on command?
You getting scientific? That ain't what I'm doing, bro. You taking it somewhere else.
But I'm asking, is speaking life something that somebody can just do on the spot, or is it like some kind of they need props and?
No, but what you're doing, I'm not. Like I said, I don't. However, Buddy speak, I don't know. I just know I repetitiously spoke. I manifested my life. I repetitiously spoke this to existence and did the work. Now, when you speak something to existence, you can't just say, "Oh, this is gonna happen," and it happened. You got to do the work with it.
Yeah.
No matter what. I'm not saying there's, you can just speak it and it happen. But I do believe in manifesting, speaking life into stuff. Because if I'm steadily speaking negatively about something.
Well, quickly, can let me just make sure I want to make sure I'm understanding you well. Is speaking life saying positive things and speaking death saying negative things?
Exactly. Speaking positive to yourself and your situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what you're saying.
Let me add this real quick, Bear. The thing about it is the reason why I don't work across the board is because you cannot manifest without the action. When you add the action in, right, you can speak negatively and still do something different. We see that stuff all the time.
Yeah, but
you can also speak positively and not put any action behind it and still fail. So the when you talk about manifestation, it oftentimes denotes the fact that there has to be hard work put behind it. Like the way you described it is fine, but most people who are pushing manifestation, they're not telling you that, oh no, you actually have to do stuff about this.
Can I say it a different way real quick? A mute can be successful. A lazy person can't.
There you go.
So I'm saying when you go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Fresh.
No, I was just saying that's the point of it. Also, really, all you're doing is setting goals and moving towards them, which anyone can do. It doesn't take your chakras to be aligned, or it doesn't take. Yeah, it doesn't take a. It's just like, listen, I want to do this, and I'm gonna do this. But there's plenty of dreamers, we call them. Well, I believe our ladies will call them bums in the hood who have big ideas, who have they speak positively into it, but they're not putting no effort behind it. They're not putting no work behind it.
Between a dreamer and a visionary, because a dreamer just dreams. A man with a vision executes a plan.
Executes is being the operative word, though.
See, when
execution.
When I'm saying manifestation, and I'm speaking things into existence, I'm not just saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna say this is gonna happen," and
well, for the audience, Bear, define what you mean by manifestation. Define it for the audience.
I don't mean like I'm just saying, "Oh, it's gonna happen." I'm just gonna sit and wait and twiddle my thumbs on this to happen, because don't nothing happen like that.
Yeah, I get that, but just give your definition. What you mean?
Oh, I feel like you got to speak life when you manifest in your life. I'm saying like you got to speak life into what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? You got to bring forth that energy to change and be who whatever it is you want to do and build and believe. Speak life into it and do the work to it. You know what I'm saying?
Are you saying you gotta, or it's helpful?
Well, you ain't gotta, but who finna? So are you about to? I'm just gonna say this: are you about to go about a plan and talk negatively against it the whole time you're doing it?
So I'm sure there's been plenty. I know plenty of times I've done that. I mean, there's been plenty of times I've done that.
This will never work.
Especially.
I haven't heard Victor. You got anything?
I know how to answer this.
He changed his glasses. He's trying to kill us.
Yeah, I am. So this whole conversation, I need to run this off. So let me talk through it. So this conversation around manifesting is really an individual, subjective based thing, right? Everybody interprets positive affirmations, and it comes from a psychological imprint. Because if you decide that you want something, that's your vision for what you want, right? Like this podcasting thing. I don't know how big you want this to be. I know how big I want my stuff to be. I put the brand on it. You know what I'm saying? I came up with the terminology. I wrote the books. I got the conversation that goes with it. I'm patient on camera so I can listen and study about everything else is going on. I'm collecting information from other people, you know what I'm saying? And I'm synthesizing it to what I understand. That right there in itself is a power that most people do not have. It is a skill. You have to be trained to do this stuff, and it takes repetition to do it. And then it takes even greater understanding and patience to be able to explain it.
Okay.
Because just like Bear was up there, he trying to find the words. He knows what he means because he knows how important it is for himself. But being able to articulate that it's something that you can't teach. And then you put together all of your peripheral understanding of every single thing that you know how to do, and then you put it together, and it's the thing that a leader has that separates him from everybody else. It's the thing that makes everybody say, let me see what Bear knows about this. And for whatever reason, Bear can make this happen. Vulcan can't do it, Enos can't do it, Freshly can't do it, and Victor can't do it. It's just another intangible quality that comes from a psychological imprint. Because
let me get Vulcan. Anything you want to chime in? Anything that stood out from Bear and Victor?
Well, I want to say I 100% agree with what Victor's saying and a lot of what Bear's saying. I mean, I definitely think hard work. I mean, the scriptures say a little twiddling of the thumbs and poverty will rush upon you, like whatever it says. I mean, hard work, dedication. You know, I was talking about Victor earlier, saying I admire how he's done all the things he's done to build his brand and how everything influences other things and brings everybody to one body at the end of the day. You know, and so all that can be done without using any kind of words. My issue with manifestation teaching and law of attraction teaching is the fact that it's not as subjective at times. They use very absolute language, like if you say this, the universe has to bring it back to you. That stuff's not true. Now, from a scientific standpoint, there have been studies that show if you write down your goals, you have a significantly higher chance of accomplishing in those goals. If you speak affirmations to yourself, it increases the likelihood that you're going to accomplish your goals. That's probability. That's likely. That's something that a man can work with or a woman can work with because it's giving you percentages. You could do all that stuff and still fail. You could do none of that stuff and still succeed. So my issue is not with anything that Bear said or Victor or Freshly or myself. It's when you see these practitioners, do y'all realize that people that teach the manifestation doctrine believe that, let's say, for instance, I'm in a hospital in the bed with a illness that can take my life. You know, they would even say me saying that is me speaking death into my life. Even me giving a hypothetical, that's how crazy some of this stuff gets. That me giving that hypothetical I just gave you right now is me speaking death in my life. But we'll put that to the side. And then Victor's there at the hospital bed, and he's thinking positively. He's saying positive things. You're going to recover. And let's say that Freshly is the nurse in there. He's doing everything a nurse would do, but he secretly wants me not to do well. He's doing everything physically that he should do as a nurse to sustain me, but he secretly is believing I'm going to fail. I'm not going to be. Manifestation, law of attraction doctrine would say that he can cancel out my chances of surviving just by his negative thoughts. And if he happens to tell a nurse on the outside once he leaves the room and tell another nurse, that person ain't gonna make it. People that really hold to this manifestation, this is a spiritual doctrine here, that hold the manifestation law of attraction, they believe that him saying that to that nurse outside when he leaves the room can spiritually affect the likelihood of me surviving. That's the absoluteness that I'm attacking and that I think is detrimental to us. And that's why I'm focusing so much on the words.
Yeah, it denotes the fact that you got to actually do something to make those things happen.
I'll say this too. People that lean on those levels of absolutes, they don't know anything else. They don't study it. See, in the absence of knowledge and confirmation through empirical data and studying and actually applying these numbers and all of these different formulas that we can dream up, or that we've actually studied, it's going to get replaced with sheep herder level literacy. You got to understand, like, even back in the day when, you know, like when you had biblical times, Moses was literate. The people that follow him were not. So they trusted him to go get the 10 commandments, as the story, you know what I'm saying, says. They had to wait in the valley, and they had to go get he had to go get the tablets with the 10 commandments on it that had very simple rules. They needed rules to tell people you can't sleep and you can't sleep with somebody else's spouse, you can't steal, you can't commit murder. You know what I'm saying? They needed to see it written in stone. Like, think about the fact they put instructions on toothpaste, shampoo, and mouthwash, because somebody is gonna go find a reason.
Hey, Victor,
you want to hide your money, put it in the book. Niggas don't read.
Yeah, Victor, to your point, they had to put a hot on the coffee. Remember that?
They had to let people know that the dishwasher liquid is not for drinking. You know what I'm saying? It don't taste the way it looked. They had to tell them that.
No, that was TikTok. TikTok had them kids going crazy.
They were eating Tide Pods not that long ago.
That goes.
We can't hear you, Bear.
Breaking up a little bit, Bear.
You mute.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, I can hear you now. Any disagreements you heard from anybody on the panel, or you want to address?
Well, what my man was saying, that goes back to people's level of understanding. I'm not going to take something somebody else said on face value. I'd be a fool.
I got to go investigate.
You know what I'm saying? I would take from it, you know what I'm saying, some notes, and I wouldn't like just fully hard and believing in something someone said without doing the research.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. You know what I mean? You got to do the research to everything.
Got to do the research. Yeah.
Let's bring fresh in. You got anything you want to agree, disagree, or any thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, just real quick. I think that, and this is not an indictment on Bear, because I believe that what he described is how it's supposed to go. I just don't think it's manifestation in terms of the doctrine as it goes. So what he's doing is setting goals and working towards them, and he's accomplishing and achieving those goals. Now, the only issue that I have, and this actually speaks to what Victor was talking about earlier, is it brings about an air of, because I don't really attribute it to lack of understanding. I think, well, it is a lack of understanding, but out of laziness as opposed to inability to get it right. This is the doctrine of manifestation is a lazy way of quote unquote kind of getting what you want, right? I don't have to work hard to do it because I can just manifest it, right? That's why you have so many. That's why you have so many women. I'm about to get into some. That's why you have so many women who manifest their husband and don't actually build themselves to get that husband. I'm just manifesting my man. You're not going to school, right? And men do it too, right? I want a car, or I want to live.
Tell the truth, shame the manifester.
Shame the manifester. I want to live this lifestyle, but I'm not doing what it takes to get to those lifestyles, because someone told me, like, if I just think about it hard enough and positively enough, I can achieve it. But Bear,
I'm Scorpio.
Because I'm exactly Bear. What you were describing, that's the problem with the doctrine itself, and not just overall, I guess, manifestation. But the problem with the doctrine of manifestation is it doesn't include what you said. Like, yeah, I grinded to get where I wanted. I went through the $10 an hour, 80-hour weeks. I did all that to get where I wanted, right? So you set a goal.
I separated myself from Buddy because I don't know who he is. I never saw him. That's that's the general public.
I think Fresh is just focused on the word. Even though Billy Carson used the word, a lot of people use the word manifest, and he said just the word itself is not.
That doctrine is widely believed by a lot of people.
Carson is just a representative of the thinking.
There you go. That's a better way of saying it.
He's just an example. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of people that function off of, like, that's like that. You know that jail smart. You've been around a jail smart person.
Oswald, Living Color.
Come on, yeah.
Well, you got to adjudicate.
Yeah, he got to adjudicate. You know what I'm saying?
Well, to me, what you know, speaking of jail smart, I'm gonna tie this into the point that I was getting to make anyway. Is part of the jail smart. Yeah, part of the jail smart thing is poor critical thinking skills. I don't mean intelligence. Somebody can have a high IQ, a low IQ, a medium IQ, but if you never learn the skills or the tools of critical thinking, these guys will amass a bunch of different information that they have inside their mind. You can read all the books, but when it comes to you trying to put that stuff together and extrapolate and infer and deduct,
they don't vet it properly. They just
it goes awry. This guy just said, "Oh, sorry, go ahead, Victor."
It's the low end AI. It's articulate idiots. That's all it is, man.
Ooh,
exactly.
Oh, I'm finna back out because y'all finna get us canceled.
and so you look at it like, and I want the audience, all the folks out there, to hear what he actually said. He brought up that Japanese experiment with that guy that the speaking positive to water, and they froze the crystals and all that kind of stuff. And then he goes from there and says our bodies are mostly water. from a scientific standpoint, y'all, those two don't necessarily go together. He's connecting two things because he knows you might be familiar with both of those information. That doesn't mean that one causes it. That doesn't mean that one causes the other. Just because your body is mostly water and water forms different crystals, under with positive words, doesn't mean that you're any closer to accomplishing your goals because you're mostly water. And somebody brought up the astrology thing. That was the same case they went to astrology. They said, well, your moon sign, because the moon causes the tides to change and your body's mostly water. And then Carl Sagan says that the doctor has more of a gravitational pull on you than the moon does. And so science got involved and said that's bad science. And so a lot of these internet gurus y'all hear, these low budget AI, as Victor eloquently pointed out, you got to learn that they're using your ignorance of science to try to beguile you and get you to subscribe to whatever type of platform and make money off of you.
Listen, they're hoping that you're dumb enough to not notice how giant of a leap that they're taking to make those two things connect. They're taking advantage of the masses.
And repackage the will. That we all know hard work equals success. And so if I say that, nobody's going to buy my stuff. Or I'm going to say, if you say it 5 times in the mirror first, and then you do the hard work, that's a doctrine. How you can buy my book.
That's manifestation. That's different.
That's manifestation now.
All right, let me play this, and then we go give our.
People always ask me, like, how do I create, the person? People always ask me, like, how do I create, the person of my dreams that I want in my life? And I always say, take out a piece of paper, write down everything you want in that person, and then become it.
That's it.
People always ask me, like, how do I create?
There's more people that, more people that believe in that ideology. So I'm gonna start with Bear. And Volker, you had something you was gonna say?
Just gonna say you agree or disagree, and then we go into the why afterwards again.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and start with Bear. Agree or disagree?
Heifers unpredictable.
Say again.
I said that's dealing with women. Them heifers unpredictable.
So take.
Unstable creatures.
I don't know on that one, bro, because you don't know what you're gonna get.
All right. Let's go, Victor.
Like a box of chocolate.
So was that to get a woman, or was that just to be a better version of yourself?
Can you play it again? Is it possible?
Yes, sir.
I mean, yeah, like I need to hear what he said.
Yeah, he said, yes, sir. It was pretty fast. All right,
He
can y'all
basically
see it?
said, if you want to be a certain person a certain way, write it down, and then become that person.
Become that person you want to attract.
Yeah.
All right, you ready? Here we go.
People always ask me, like, how do I create, the person of my dreams that I want in my life? And I always say, take out a piece of paper, write down everything you want in that person, and then become it.
That's it.
Okay.
People always ask me, like, how do I create, the person of my dreams that I want in my life? And I always say, take out a piece of paper, write down everything you want in that person, and then become it.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. He left it at it sounds real gender neutral and high on codependency.
So yes or no?
No.
No. All right, let's go with Fresh.
What's the question?
Do you agree? What he said?
Just to clarify, do I agree that you become the person that you want in your life?
Yeah, I was gonna just go ahead and say it because the video goes by so fast. I just want to say it real quick for everybody in the audience too. Thanks Freshly for pointing it out. So what the guy is saying, when people come to him and talk about how do they get the spouse or manifest the spouse that they really want, male or female, they're saying what you need to do is write it down, what you want, and then become that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
No.
I'm not finna become the woman I want.
I'm too player for that.
I'm not finna
like straight up. Like
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, come on, man. Like,
I'm rough. I need soft.
What kind of
spell it SOFT.
Soft.
Capital T.
Yeah, what kind of fatherless nonsense is that?
Hey man, that's a white man. His father was most likely in his life.
Nah, yeah, he was getting pegged.
All right, Fresh. You get the video now, Freshly.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. Hey, I don't agree with it. I just clarified.
man.
I wanted to clarify what he was actually saying.
Okay.
Because it was super vague in that clip.
His whole life vague.
Yeah,
He says whole
This
life.
nigga vague.
All right, let's bring Vulcan here.
Oh, opaque ass.
Oh, vague head.
clear as mud looking at.
Yeah, you know. Oh man, Marvin's room face ass boy. He been manifesting all his life.
All right, talk to us, Vulcan.
You finna become the girl you want.
Hello, Bear.
Yeah, I definitely disagree.
Okay. Oh, so we all disagree on that. Okay. All right, so let's just.
I'd be damned if I'm sitting down writing down over and over again for a certain type of woman to show up in my life. It's crazy. That's witchcraft.
I want a soft woman. I'll be soft. Boy, shut the hell up.
Now I gotta cook clean. And come on.
And the soft woman that you want don't want you because you soft like her.
Oh.
Wait, hold on. Enos, you ready?
Yeah.
We're getting ready to go over the why now, right? Or no?
Oh yeah. Let's go to the why. Sorry about that, fella.
You're gonna manifest a woman that's gonna cheat on you. That's crazy.
All right, let's talk about it, Bear. Man, why you disagree? Let's talk about it. Bear.
Huh?
Yeah, let's talk about why you disagree. Explain why you disagree.
I'm not finna be that girl gay bestie.
He didn't say what kind of relationship.
He just kept saying person.
I'm just saying
Gender neutral.
That's why I said gender neutral. So, okay.
He just said who you want in your life. He didn't say in what capacity.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's true, but still, I'm not conform. Even if it's not a woman, I'm not conforming to nobody. I'm not gonna. You gotta accept me for me or no.
Okay.
And after we meet in the middle of the street, we can compromise, but I'm not finna just change it for nobody.
All right. So Bear said he's not conforming. What's going? What you think, Victor?
I'm the standard.
Okay.
I'm already put together.
So you're not conforming either.
I'm the standard. They have to figure it out with me.
All right. So Bear said he's not conforming, and Victor said I'm the standard. All right. What's up, Fresh?
It just doesn't work in terms of relationship dynamics. Becoming the person that you want in your life is absurd.
Yeah, we see what you do.
It's what he should have said is become the type of person you want in your life will want, but he didn't say that.
Yeah.
So it's a dub.
All right, talk to us, Vulcan.
So, I mean, obviously, we all agree on this point. I want to get in a little bit of the psychology, I believe, initiated this type of mindset. I think what he's trying to attack is, and he's being tongue-in-cheek, basically saying that people are asking for things that they're not even themselves. They're not whatever they're asking for. And then there's a way to take it that makes sense. If you want to say you want somebody that's going to be loyal, you be somebody who's loyal and stuff like that. And to some extent that can help. If somebody that's observing you that is that way, they're more likely to approach you or to be more receptive if they see the same value system manifested in you that they have themselves. So there's a truth to that. If you want somebody that's in the church, you got to be in the church, right? If you want somebody that's working, well, you got to be around people that are working. So there's a lesser extent, but I think it's just poor advice. And obviously it's a clip. So maybe he clarified it, outside of the clip. But the difficulty with a lot of this stuff, especially for a lot of the women that are going to hear that, a lot of gullible men that are going to hear that, is it just helps with the delusion that people are already under, that it's a false equivalency. Women and men mate select for opposite things, or as attraction, the attraction template that Victor speaks on all the time. Women want men who are taller than them. Men typically want somebody shorter than them. Women want somebody bigger than them. Men want somebody smaller than them. Women want somebody that they can follow. Men want somebody they can lead. All of that is going to be opposites. Even in homosexual relationships, they have opposites. It's still going to be a feminine and masculine energy, and whether it's lesbian or gay couples. So in no facet does it make any sense. And I think that it's very haphazard and irresponsible to say those kind of things if he's not making it clear that he's being tongue-in-cheek about people who are asking for things that they don't, asking for certain values that they don't manifest themselves. that's the context in which I can see it making sense. Outside of that, I think it's all some type of ploy to get people to buy his book, or he's trying to say something different than what everybody else is saying and deceive a lot of people.
I think you got to make a list based on polarity. You know, like if you want to lead a big company, if you want to lead anything, right, then you want to get folks that actually support and is willing to follow and get in line with what you're doing. It just depends on from what standpoint you're looking at, because I think you gotta, this idea that we have to match things. No, you have to, if you want to attract something, you have to have polarity in everything that you do. So if you're gonna get a bunch of the same people that think the way that you get, you're just gonna be in a tug of war. You're gonna be in a competition. Like in theory, if you just wrote down everything, because now you just write down exactly what you are and how you think. So you're only gonna be able to bring to you what you recognize what you're looking for. Instead of somebody showing up saying, hey, I know more about this than you do. Let me show you, let me teach you something. That's the thing. I believe that we should be looking for people at this stage, because all of us know a whole bunch of things. And I said earlier, very few of us know how to teach those things. We need to be looking for people that can actually teach us something about what we already know, so they can fuse that ton of information that you already got and say, oh, I know exactly to where to tweak, you know what I'm saying, what you're doing. So you just take off and I'll take this off your plate, not bring something to the table. What can I take off your plate?
That's good. And you know, that's a good segue for our next video. We're about to cover Jordan Peterson. I don't know if y'all familiar with him. A lot of people go to him, and he teaches a lot of things to help a lot of guys be better men. He did a viral debate. I think it was 20 against 1. That's been trending, a viral debate about Christianity. And we have some guys that a lot of people is reacting to it. And I want y'all to hear this reaction.
I would like to let people know that logical fallacies make perfect sense, especially in an academic situation. However, I would like to let you know that these are also opinions and perspectives. And I would also like you to know that Marquettism, in our perspective, we believe that you must consider the arguer, the speaker must be considered as well, and their motivations, and also if we should address them as an individual, and mostly we should.
You know what? That's a good point. That is a good point as far as what you said. I only caught the end, but that point was good. Logical fallacies are truly only good if you're in like some formal debate. But generally, it doesn't really hold any weight, because you should attack people on all facets and all corners. If you're really going to be ruthless and you really want.
King, and I would like to let people know that logical fallacies make perfect sense, especially in an academic situation. However, I would like to let you know that these are also opinions and perspectives. And I would also like you to know that Marquettism, in our perspective, we believe that you must consider the arguer, the speaker must be considered as well, and their motivations, and also if we should address them as an individual, and mostly we should.
You know what? That's a good point. That is a good point as far as what you said. I only caught the end, but that point was good. Logical fallacies are truly only good if you're in like some formal debate. But generally, it doesn't really hold any weight, because you should attack people on all facets and all corners. If you're really going to be ruthless and you really want.
King, and I.
All right. All right. So yeah. So that was okay. All right. So yeah. So that was Marquette. The same center reacting to Jordan Peterson. I want to go ahead and start. Matter of fact, let's just start with agree or disagree with the video. Let's start with Fresh.
agree that you should.
You want me to
attack everyone on
rephrase?
every facet?
Yeah,
Like
you can.
when you say to agree with the video, there's multiple points of view. Like, what you gotta tell me what are you asking me?
So just for the you mind if I just state it for the audience?
Yeah, you fine.
Yeah, so both of the guys are making the point that being logical and reasonable and using logical terminology and stuff like that is good in academic conversations. But outside of academic conversations, especially people are expressing opinions and perspectives, that stuff is not as useful. And you should consider who it is that you're addressing, what that person's character is like. So, for instance, they're breaking down Jordan Peterson on the Jubilee show, where Jordan Peterson is dealing with, I think, 20 atheists or whatever the case may be. And so they're talking about is Jordan. So their point, giving a little bit more insight and what they're coming from is Jordan Peterson is a guy who struggles with addiction, who struggles with depression and stuff like that. They say he's not the kind of guy you should really get advice from. So they're saying, and so as they're giving their opinions about what he's saying on the show, they're also giving opinions about him. And they're saying that all the logical stuff is cool for academic conversations, but as we give opinions and perspectives on there, you should address the person and who they are and whether or not they're a credible source and things of that nature. So that's part of where he's coming from on that. And they said other things too that I may not have addressed just now, but hopefully that'll help a little bit with the picture. And so the question is just, do y'all agree with that? Do you think that you should that logical terminology and logical concepts are really just more for academic conversations, or do you think they pretty much should apply at all times in all types of conversations? And do you believe that you should address all facets, including addressing the messenger as well as the message?
I think it should be used across any sort of conversation or any environment, because once you start taking into account any of those circumstantial instances, you remove the ability to take what the speaker is speaking at face value. There's always underlying context. And the problem with having underlying context is, oh, you know what, my fault. We're going with agree, disagree. That's on me. Disagree.
Bear?
I disagree. You should never throw logic out the window.
Victor?
I disagree. I need all the information. I never throw information away.
All right, well.
And I definitely disagree as well.
Okay, so I can you do it because they all gave their reasons. Bear said he shouldn't throw logic out the window. Victor said he need all the information. What was the other question you wanted to ask the panel? Vulcan? Because they gave their whys already. I don't know. Fresh.
Well, I'll just give my why, and if we want to keep on going with this, we can. So for me, the reason why you can't just leave logical terminology and things of that nature for just academic conversations is because most people don't learn through academic conversations. Most conversations are casual. Once you get out of school, and I would argue even in school, most of the conversations aren't academic conversations. But who knows what actually he's defining by academic conversations. I don't know what he necessarily means by that. But most of the conversations in the barbershop, at work, people will consider casual conversations. If you were to nitpick somebody's words during 99% of the conversations you have every day, they're going to be like, come on, man, what are you doing? Chill. Because they don't consider them to be academic conversations. But logic and reason always applies. When you're having conversations with your kids or with your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, whatever the case may be, they start contradicting themselves and saying things that are asinine, you're going to hold them accountable for that. Out of love and out of respect for y'all's relationship and their betterment and dignity for yourself. So I think that people that like these guys that are saying at times you should suspend logic and reason are looking for a reason to be able to assert their own opinions and perspectives in place of reason and logic. That one of the guys on there, the Saint in the Center, he's a big time guy on YouTube. Both of these guys are big time guys on YouTube. There's already been like 2 or 3 videos online about him being a cult leader. You know, whether you agree with that or not, it's not my point. I've just noticed he's a very sharp man as far as intelligence. and he understands epistemology and logic pretty well from what I've been able to ascertain from his videos. But he commits to genetic fallacy a lot. He'll attack the person. He'll say because Jordan Peterson struggles with addiction and depression and stuff like that, he's not somebody you should listen to. So basically what he's saying, unless you're basically me or you're somebody that I deem good enough for you to listen to, then you should listen to them. It sets up this, you have to be perfect in order to, nirvana fallacy, what the technical term would be called the nirvana fallacy, saying that if something ain't perfect, then it's not good enough. And then where does that end? I mean, could we disqualify him from being listened to because he's saying that it's okay to suspend logic and reason at times? That's pretty dangerous.
Well, it's definitely manipulative. This is the same kind of tactic that pastors use all the time, religious leaders, cult leaders, ideologically motivated people. Like when it comes down to the Taliban, the Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, any Boko Haram.
Girlfriends use it, boyfriends use it. When they say that's my feelings.
The sisterhood, red pill, anybody that's like labeled themselves and put themselves out in front of something, they gotta have an impermeable stance on something. Like they have to be right. Everything has to come back to them being right. You know,
how many of y'all's girlfriends have said, "I don't want to be logical right now"? I know I've experienced that in my life numerous times.
I want to be logical right now. This is the only time.
You know, those women didn't make the cut for me. You know? Like if they said something like that, I was like, "Oh, you ready to break up?" Because like when I tell you the truth, oh, now you ready to hear the truth. Oh, you fixing to get out of here. You ready to break up?
That's how I got stuck with them. Because okay, now I see what's going on. You throwing all your trash on my side of the aisle, man.
Hey, look. So they don't make it past that. But now, I think that there's some psychological imprint. I say this a lot. We all want to do the right thing, and then we want to get better at the right thing to the point where we're pursuing perfection. That's what repetition is, right? And then when we get something that comes across in front of us, we've rehearsed what we're about to experience so well that it's like, damn, that person's so sharp because we're passionate about something. You know, like you start changing the way that you deliver your message. Like you go from like when somebody says all men cheat, I started saying, well, if all men cheat, that means all women are side chicks. So stop using all of this all-encompassing words. Leave room for the exception. That's why I say I need all of the information. I need discernment. And so now you have to increase the intangibles that go into your psychological imprint, decide if this is a disciplined decision or an undisciplined decision. And because like, what's the goal? You know what I'm saying? What's the motivation of the person? Because like,
hold on, Victor, let's get everybody here. Fresh, I don't think you got to give your whys for why you disagree with this video.
I'm gonna just keep it to the ability to have a conversation. Once you remove logic from it, you foist the responsibility on the communicator to make assumptions about what you know, what you like, what you're thinking, how you're thinking about it, your past experiences. And the problem with that is there's no way that you can, as the communicator, that you can predict those things with 100% accuracy. So that communication, almost by definition, is going to be ineffective. Now, you also leave room for deception when you allow the receiver to choose whether or not they tell you these things, right? So and if you allow them to kind of sit on the laurels of, well, you should consider these things, you allow them an escape, and that's really what that mindset is built to do, is allow an escape. With logic, you can pin someone down to just the facts. Without it, there's always room to wiggle out based on how you feel or how you were feeling at that very moment, or your past trauma and those types of things. So it doesn't allow for an effective communication or conversation. So it's you should never throw out logic. You should always keep it.
Yeah, that's the safe net.
And you can never hold somebody accountable if somebody can choose to have logic and reason suspended, then how could you hold that person accountable?
Just go off my name. That's
Just go
basically
off
what he's
who I
saying.
am. Yeah, go off who I am.
When logic is
But
out, there's no guidelines. There's no parameters to work on.
Structure.
Because logic is gone. So now we're going off how we feel. And you can feel one way 1 minute and 1 way the next minute. There's nothing solid to stand it on. You know what I mean?
That's when you get that. That's when you get that AI, the articulate idiots. They love this type of stuff.
Well, and my thing is like, at best, I would say it's articulate idiots, but I like what you said earlier, Victor. I think some of these guys are downright evil.
Doing it on purpose.
They're downright evil. They're not idiots and they're very articulate. They know exactly what they're trying to do. They're building their following.
Yep. It's just like when we say women are using word salad. That's all it is. When you throw logic out the window, it's like you ever listen to a tape and it flipped over and it's like and start getting all garbled. That's what it sounds like to people that think. It's like we just gonna let you talk until you finish, and when you skip the song.
I do want to ask Vulcan, why should we emphasize the evil part? Why do you think that's important for the audience to know that this rhetoric is evil?
I think there's an implicit reflex to assume when somebody's doing the wrong thing, it's because they have a lack of understanding about something. And because that's typically people's reflex because they want to assume the best about all parties, what happens is you open yourself up to people that are just evil. That person may not, and this goes, if you're in the 40 laws of power, you see that in the 40 laws of power that you should just assume the person knows what they're doing. The reality is that sometimes things are happening wrong or incorrectly. Victor used an example of pastors, and I've seen this many times. And this is not just exclusive to churches at all. So please don't mistake me right there. But I've seen many times where as somebody who studies doctrine and studies teaching, and then I'm seeing a church do something that's improper or incorrect. And so my natural assumption early on was, they just don't know. This is a big book. You can't get everything right. I know I don't have everything right. Let me just go and show them. And then I go and show them and they're like, no, we're not doing that here. God told me something else. And so you realize that, it's not that they're not aware this is written here. They say it doesn't apply to them. And so then you realize it's not ignorance at all. They're setting up themselves to be their own God.
Politicians do it all the time. Like that's what people felt about Kamala. You know what I'm saying? Like you remove the burden of proof on the words that she used and being able to describe whatever her strategy was, and she lost damn near 70% of her voter base just because she was talking.
Yeah, but I want to emphasize this: it's evil on the person who's disseminating the bad information. But it's also can be evil in the people who are not doing their due diligence and who are just blindly following somebody who's saying things that they already want to believe.
It's lazy.
It's lazy. I'll say it's lazy at best, and at worst, it's another form of the worst kind of evil. I don't want to have to think. I want to just be able to put it off on somebody else if I'm wrong.
That's a lack of accountability. So now if it goes wrong, I got to blame somebody else instead of myself, even though I had the ability to do my own research and come to my own conclusions.
Yep. That's why, like, when you listen to on the back end of it, let's just say they don't take any accountability, right? Then they don't like the way it turns out. The language that people use to define the folks that didn't pay attention is people that complain. And complainers they fall into two. They meet the threshold for two things. The reason that they complain, they don't qualify or they can't afford something, and it doesn't have to do with money. It's about character. It's knowledge. Knowledge affords you understanding. You know what I'm saying? The character part affords you access to reciprocal, like-minded relationships and conversations. So most complainers are around each other. And then they are usually of a lower IQ in performance, discipline, and everything you could think of. That's why character. Yeah, character is the main thing because that's what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when I say people are living in their feelings when they're complaining all the time. If you're complaining, you're so far from a solution when you're complaining because you're an undisciplined thinking person. A disciplined thinking person will generalize what makes sense and what doesn't, and then say, if I want to solve the problem, then I'm going to go over here with the parts that amount to, like doing some solid testing to figure out if I can solve the problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some peer review. I'm gonna get some other eyes looking at this thing. Absolutely right.
You're not.
I want Bear to chime in too. Anything you want to add to what everybody's saying about this topic?
No, I mean, I didn't have to chime in because they covered all points. These boys on point. They back the same way.
All right, cool. So, this is why I want to ask. So why, when you see, especially in the Black YouTube, because these guys are reacting to Joy Peters, two Black gentlemen, why don't you? I want to ask. I guess I asked everybody. You don't hear people accusing these people of doing evil work just in the intellectual realm. Why is that? Let's start with Fresh. Why do you think that is?
Why no one's accusing them of being evil?
Yeah.
I think most people are not thinking that deep, and then even the ones who are not going to demonize people from their own community. It's a fatal flaw that we as Black people have. We're definitely afraid to criticize or be critical of people who look like us, even when they're doing wrong.
Victor?
You don't have enough success yet. We wait for you to become successful to say you're part of Illuminati.
Yeah. All right. The reason I was asking is because you see a lot of people critiquing other people online, but they don't bring up the moral component. You rarely hear that within our community. What about you, Bear? What's your thoughts?
A lot of people ain't looking that deep.
Yeah.
A lot of people on YouTube, they're not looking that deep, so they see it at the surface. And then the ones that see it for what it really is, like you said, they turn a blind eye. I mean, it's like,
and that's what they was. I think Voka and Fresh all alluded to that. That's Fresh said laziness, but I think Voka said one of the worst kind of evils. Voka, you want to give your thoughts on the question?
Well, I think if the question is about, why do people go more towards ignorance as opposed to the person that's poor moral character?
It's easier.
It's definitely easier for sure. And then we do live in a society now where it's relativistic. There's no right, there's no wrong. Whether people go scientism and say that we're all just evolved broccoli anyway, and broccoli doesn't have a morality if you're on the more intellectual, naturalistic side, or if you're on the more spiritual side and you're into Baha'i faith, or all roads lead to Rome, or there's no one way that's correct. Everything is everything, and everything is God anyway. So, what you say is up and I say is down. It's all well and good, and left and right is the same. So I think because we live in that world of relativism, people are less inclined to make moral judgments, especially if it's not affecting them. When I hear people say something really bad, if somebody they don't like the person, then it's like, like Trump as an example, or Biden if you're on the other side. I don't like him, or if you got a coworker who does something you don't like, who makes sure to stay after your shift because they show up late. I don't like them, so but outside of that,
of everything that they say.
Yeah, it's just, but may I interject? Is this, you don't hear more people talk about the moral component. I know the ignorant part, people say, oh, this person ignorant. I know you just said something about people just not liking people, but rarely you hear, unless it's somebody a part of a church or the Abrahamic faith, most people in the intellectual realm don't mention the virtues of intellectualism.
As Barry said, most people don't look that deep into it to understand that, because obviously I'm gonna use there's 3, maybe 4 fundamental laws of logic: the law of identity, the law of contradiction, the law of excluded middle, and then some of that like the transitive property, which is A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C, right? We learned that in math class. So the thing is that now the one we most identify with probably is the law of contradiction. If somebody contradicts themselves in conversation, people are like, oh, you contradicting yourself. Or you said you went, you're talking to your girl, hey, look, this guy's texting you. You said you didn't know this guy. Now I'm seeing this guy's been texting you for 2 years. That's an obvious violation of the law of contradiction. At that point, people will say, so then people recognize the immorality in that. But when somebody's doing an ad hominem attack, or they attack the person instead of attacking the argument, people don't identify that as an immoral act as easily as somebody lying, aka contradicting what they said prior. You see what I'm saying? So I think part of it is a slight ignorance, but also that we've already been conditioned to not look that deep into it, and we don't care to look that deep into it. We're mentally lazy.
Because I'll tell you why.
Ignorance is bliss.
That's part of it too. I'm gonna wrap all of this up right here. People are emotionally undisciplined, and they come to escape on the internet. They don't come over here to be right. They come over here to be made to feel good.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, they come over here for entertainment, man. You know what I'm saying? And they get upset if you're trying to teach something because you're already over here. It's like you in recess and you know everything. And so the minute that you say anything out the way, like you might be correcting somebody's spelling, they were like, "Man, get your grammar Nazi ass up out of here." You know what's the fuck wrong with you being smart? You know what I'm saying?
Niggas hate knowledge.
Yeah, come on. Like this is the internet is
making me read.
This is where you come celebrate people getting out of prison. You don't celebrate people with college degrees here. You come over here and you celebrate people twerking on the headlights. You don't come celebrate people breaking down Einstein's theory of relativity.
Now hold on, Victor. I think they could both exist. All right, let's not too much on twerking on the headlights.
We know.
Let them twerk, Vic.
I'm not against it. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Because this is why I be talking about disciplined thinking and undisciplined thinking. You give people you give them social media access to the internet, they're gonna treat it like a tool, right? And then you give it to some other people, they're gonna sell their bodies online and become the tool. So you got a good balance of people that's coming here to live in their emotions, and then there's some people that's using the tool to think and help synthesize discussions and try to figure out how can I monetize this. This takes thought. This takes real effort. You know what I'm saying? And sitting down and doing stuff that other people would not be willing to do. And they'll be having those articulate idiot discussions about Cardi B, the earth being flat, and the government creating earth. Those people are all on the same team. You know, emotionally undisciplined people will make a baby with the wrong man before they make a sandwich for the right one, and then get up here and complain about their baby daddy is not worth a damn, and they chose it. And so you're gonna complain. Those are the what I tell you about the language of complaints. It's just a group of people that's gonna be completely immersed in that. They come online, they don't vote, and then they complain about politics. They complain about the food, they complain about being fat, but then they doing it with a 10-piece lemon pepper wet.
That's why the algorithm is so effective, because it's only going to show you things that you want to see.
Correct.
So once you set your preferences and your biases, it's only going to to you, that's your whole ecosystem.
Yeah. It's your ecosystem.
All right, fellas. Good topic. I see my man Bear got Nipsey Hustle t-shirt on, man. I wanna get y'all thoughts on this next video. Shout out to Nipsey.
Give me my Nipsey Hustle. Nipsey Hustle. Let me give me my Nipsey Hustle. So let me give me my Nipsey Hustle. Nipsey Hustle. Let me give me my Nipsey Hustle story, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
So I'm getting on a plane from LA to New York, and I'm getting into my seat. Walter Mosley, the great writer, is on the right. Van Jones on the left. I'm on this plane, and this young man gets in and he says, excuse me, are you Michael Eric Dyson? I said, yes, sir, I am. He said, wow, I read your books. I said, are you Nipsey Hustle? And he looked at me like, he said, yes, I am. I said, and I pulled out my iPhone, and I had his latest marathon playing right there. He was like, oh my God. I said, oh, I ain't talking to dog. I live it. Right. And so for 4 hours, we had a nonstop conversation, mostly led, by the way, by Nipsey Hussle. His intelligence, his curiosity, his wanting to know things, to pick my brain, ask me certain things, respond to certain things. A remarkable, remarkable human being.
All right, folks, you mind leading this one?
Yeah, we can just go around starting with Bear. Do you agree or disagree with?
Yeah, there you go.
No.
Trademark.
Do you agree or disagree with Mr. Mike Eric Dyson said about Nipsey?
As far as like his
Him
character,
his character, him being a remarkable man.
Oh, I totally agree. I'm a fan.
Show him the t-shirt. Show him the t-shirt, man.
Yeah, rep your set. Last time that he checked.
But listen, though, on the real, like, hold on, we doing agree or disagree.
So
I agree.
Victor?
I agree. It's his first-hand experience.
Okay, Fresh?
I don't know Nipsey Hussle. I don't see how I would agree or disagree with the fact that that's his opinion on his meeting. I don't know.
Okay. He knows?
Yeah, I have to agree with Fresh. I don't know him, but as far as the intelligent part, I agree with him. I heard some of his interviews. He seemed like a inquisitive person, intelligent, and open to a certain degree. So yeah, that part I agree with. Remarkable.
What about like what about would you Freshly, would you say what about Hitler? Would you say he's a remarkable person?
Define remarkable.
Whatever your definition.
Special in one way. That's how that's how I would define it. Special.
If that's the case, I mean, outside of just in terms of his accomplishments, if you removing a moral compass off of it, he is remarkable.
You know?
Same here. Yeah, same here. Outside the moral. But as far as Hitler did something that's different, that's unusual. So that's not many people was able to reach the heights and as far as the military science. So you have to put him up there.
I was just asking because I was seeing if remarkable, you thinking he's remarkable based off if you know him or not. But Fresh was consistent in saying that he doesn't know Hitler either. So I guess.
Well, no, we don't. There's just not enough.
Yeah, well, I have to say in that way,
not enough.
Nipsey is remarkable.
Right, but for me, if that's the case, then I'm going to disagree because I haven't seen enough of Nipsey Hussle being remarkable or being outside the norm. He's a rapper.
Well, I would say the way I was defining unusual, so different, special. So his circumstances being an underground, not really a famous rapper to reach certain heights.
Let's just use this definition of remarkable. Worthy of attention. Worthy of attention.
Oh, worthy of attention. It depends. If we're talking about entrepreneurship,
to you, would you want people to give attention to Nipsey Hussle?
No.
Freshly, what about you?
No.
Bear?
Yeah, because what he stood for.
Victor?
Yeah, I'm all about representation.
Okay, cool. And so for me, I would say no. I wouldn't want people to give Nipsey Hussle any attention. So let's start with you, Bear. Plus, you got the shirt on right now. Why is Nipsey Hussle worthy of attention?
I happen to have the shirt on. I did not know this was gonna happen.
I feel like this was a setup, y'all.
If you dive in and look at his interviews and see what he stood for and his message, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't just ignorant rapper preaching, you know what I'm saying, death and destruction. I don't know if y'all ever delved into listened to his music, is what he was talking about, you know what I'm saying? But he had a message and he was executing his message in the community.
Mailbox money.
You know what I'm saying? He was executing his message. He had a whole little strip mall in the neighborhood. He was about to make
Slauson. He had the track meet or whatever it's called.
He was working on the STEM school.
STEM.
Also working on that healthy eating restaurant. Grocery store in the hood. You can't find no Whole Foods in the hood. You know what I'm saying? So he was working on that. Like, it's just the stuff he stood for and him as a man, as a person, what he represented.
Okay. What about Victor? What about for yourself? You said you're all about representation, right?
Yeah, because we talk too much about we want the community to come together. we need to heal our communities. And he was about his community, and nobody's going to go in and fix wherever you from. So if he's taking ownership of that, that's one less complaint that we can have. So in that regard,
and
I
provide.
think he was worthy of attention and protection, because I think people have to fix their situations privately, meaning like your community doesn't exist if your household isn't together. You know, it got to happen on a micro scale. You can't have a macro opinion change any particular thing. And if you're not willing to do the work internally, it's not going to reflect anywhere else. So, you know,
Gotcha.
From that small scale leadership and Black masculinity and representation, I think that's why he's worthy of attention in that regard.
Gotcha. And so I want to just open up Enos or Freshly. Who wants to take it? Because y'all on the opposing side along with me. Who wants to go first on why they think he's not worth
Enos, you got it.
the attention?
Because he's the embodiment of contradiction. And one end he's saying he's for the community, and another end he's promoting gang violence. So it would be different if he was an entrepreneur. We didn't know his personal life, but he's promoting the Crip culture, the Rolling 60s. And I don't think that's a person like that's worthy of attention.
Okay, Fresh.
Just to kind of piggyback on what Enos was saying, the problem with it is he is a walking contradiction, and he's asking you right when we laud him, we are conveniently ignoring the other half of his message. So it's a real kind of exception to the rule, so to speak. Like, well, he's doing something positive, so we just gonna rally behind him. But we don't critique the other stuff that he's talking about. Like he died from gang violence. He didn't get out of a gang. He never denounced the gang. And again, I'm from that environment, so I'm not necessarily knocking. I'm saying if we're going to consider him a hometown hero, if we're going to consider him, someone that we should look up to, then we're going to have to examine everything that he's talking about and not just pick and choose what we want. Because I think he did have some positive impact in the community. So I'm definitely not knocking him. But if we're going to examine the positive impact, we cannot conveniently leave out the fact that he smacked a civilian or a reporter for talking to him in a way that he didn't like on TV. So while most of us may agree with that type of thing, is that's what I'm showing my kids? That's what I'm showing my young boys, that they should act like that? No. So we have to consider, and I think that in that space we have so few folks that we can kind of put on a pedestal that we are willing to make exceptions to put, and I don't want to say anybody, but put anyone who's doing anything, right? Put any light up there, and we'll just go with that. But I don't think that's what we should be. I don't think that should be the goal.
Yeah. So having said that, Bear, what about what Enos and Freshly says? Would you say that you agree with and disagree with?
I don't agree, because I feel like Black people are the only people that feel like we got to be above reproach to give a message. Get the meat from the message, even no matter who the message is. I feel like us as a people, we the only ones that condemn ourselves. Well, you used to do this, so you can't tell me that. I don't care what he used to did. I used to do a lot of crazy stuff. I ain't that man no more. You know what I mean? I'm not that guy no more.
Go ahead, Fresh.
I was just saying, I don't think he was used to doing it. He was still repping 60 as often as he talked about positive things in the community.
I mean,
he was pushing Crip.
I saw him push
All his song titles got the double C's in them.
But
like it's not something. It wasn't his past life. It wasn't something he left behind.
Yeah, his last album, he was promoting
every
heavy
positive
gang
thing.
culture.
You looking at
I saw him promoting unity in the gangs, though. What I saw.
But it's still gangs.
But
why would you want?
Blood.
Sorry, go ahead.
My bad. His one of his main collaborators was a Blood. He wasn't pushing violence. Like, he was pushing unity with the gangs. That's what I saw. Like, what's the dude named YG? YG's a Blood. They got damn near a whole album together. So I didn't see him pushing gang violence. Just you can't help who you are. So it's like this. Once you commit to something, you pick a side. You got to choose, but you could choose to be positive. Most old gang members, they don't gang bang no more. You know what I'm saying? And they be
real quickly,
Right,
Bear, I want to make sure because you're saying a lot of good points. I want to make sure that they can address them. You know, real quickly because Victor is also on that side too. Victor, do you have anything you wanted to add?
I think it's hypocritical.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's hypocritical. We just had a topic about not throwing out logic, and I just think that we had to take all things into consideration, good, bad, and indifferent. And I think it's human beings are flawed, and if he ain't hurting children, I think we need to take what he's done and contributed and put it on the scale before we just throw it all out.
Okay,
I agree.
you know,
I think it's going against logic. The thing he's promoting is kill culture. The according to the CDC, the number one death, the cause of death for black men, black boys from 14 to black men that's 40 is gun violence.
And
right?
so you're addressing the point about him saying hurting kids, right? You're
Yeah,
saying
that's
that,
hurting kids.
okay.
He's advocating people to continue that. So that's going against you said keep logic on the table.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm saying. It's a contradiction.
So here's the logic part, right? Who could you swap him out with to make the youth listen to? Who could they accept a message from?
The youth?
I know how I'd want to answer that, but I didn't want to take away from fresh and
All right, so be quiet then.
I'm you, sir.
and before you think about this while I set this up the right way. I've seen the U.S. go to countries that produce opium, and they say we're going to swap the opium out with corn. Opium grows naturally. Okay, a place like Afghanistan produces 82% of the world's opiates. And the U.S. tried to go in there and say, hey, we don't want any more drug trade going into Europe. Start growing corn instead. In a place is where it grows wild, like dandelions. You know what I'm saying? It didn't work, needless to say. They had a poppy eradication program. They just went around just burning up crops of poppy because it's not indigenous to there. They're not going to just be able to remove something that grows wild, okay? Now think about that same logic. Okay, all of those guys that's out in the LA gang culture and how that looks, they're not worried about STEM education. It's just going to take a whole lot of steps of generational trauma removing, therapy, education, and consistency. You know, he was the start point of that, potentially. You know, we don't know what he would have done. He got killed at 33 years old, man. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how much momentum he would have been able to generate for himself, for his own community. And that's the other thing too. He was taking responsibility of his own community that he came from, regardless of how it looked, regardless of our opinions. So with that being said, who or what could have replaced Nipsey Hussle to move the needle forward without the gang culture piece, which represents the people that speak that language on the ground?
Anybody,
so
a person who could replace Nipsey.
Hold on, real quick.
All right, go ahead.
You don't have to replace Nipsey. You have to replace the message. That's the problem. When you're considering the message, right? When you're considering him as a net positive, you have to consider everything. And that's where you're talking about with the logic. You want to put it on the scale. It's on the scale. So no one's taking away his positive accomplishments. The problem is they in no way outweigh his negative his negative goodness gracious, I'm having a brain fart. His negative things that he's done in his life. So if we're just gonna put on a scale right here, and the problem is at no point in time did he do a 180 and go the other direction, right? So the only thing he did was add positive to his negative. Hey, I'm still doing the gang thing, right? So everything that comes with gangs, regardless of how you want to frame it, contributions to where I was looking for. Everything that you're doing with the gang culture, right? It is all encompassing. You can't just take the positive parts out of gang culture, right? So the problem is you don't have to replace Nipsey. He would have been fantastic if his message would have been, hey, what I was doing growing up was not the way to do it. I denounced this culture. Here's what you should be doing. Here's what you should be doing, taking care of it. So if he would have done that, I would have, my answer at the beginning would have been different. The problem is he didn't. The problem is he was just adding. He's just putting on top of it. So now if I'm showing it to my kid sees that the path to what Nipsey Hussle did is through gang culture. And that's not the message I'm trying to deliver. Like, so you telling me I could be a Crip, I can go out and do the gang violence, I can sell drugs, I can harm my community, as long as at the end, when I realize, at a certain point that I might have been wrong, I just start putting drug money and money that comes from pedestalizing my violent past and nature, put it back into the hood, right? So we're even, right? And that's not the case. So the message is wrong. It's not necessarily the messenger. He would be perfect to reach the denizens of youth that we're trying to reach, right? He would be perfect to reach inside the gang culture and pull people out. The problem is that's not what he's doing. He's actually drawing more people. If you think that Nipsey Hussle is a net positive, you see him as a positive figure, then you also see the fact that he's a Rolling 60s Crip as positive. That's not, and for me, that's not the message I'm trying to push to the youth.
I guess too, the other part.
I do want to ask you a question, Victor.
Yeah.
Who can replace him?
Yeah.
A person that reverends a moral hierarchy. So somebody who's a virtuous person who's consistent in their moral standards. That's what person. So that means that system, that person that's the moral hierarchy that they following, the focus is not on the person, it's more focused on the message. That's the person that can replace somebody like a Nipsey. Because there's more emphasis on Nipsey than what he actually stood on. Because it's confusing.
I understand exactly what you mean, and that these are obviously utopian, ideas, and because, like, again, going back to like the previous conversation about you got to take everything into consideration, like the Jordan Peterson thing, right? Because that's what it's going to come down to. Like, how much of his catalog have you guys listened to?
How much of it, like percentage wise?
Yeah.
I listened to majority of his albums. I say over like 75%, 80%.
Well, so do you remember a lot? I guess it when you listen to someone, certain notes are gonna resonate with you.
But I want to say this about the moral hierarchy. I think we're forgetting or we're confusing somebody that has an entrepreneur spirit. We're equating that with somebody that's a high moral character.
No,
just to get money do is not equivalent to somebody with high.
I agree with that completely.
So he's consistent with the money. I listen to him. He's consistent about making money.
I'm talking about principle, understanding stuff, and because those are the notes that resonated with me. Because, like, yeah, I get this, the Rolling 60 stuff. That's gonna resonate with somebody else that's understanding that too, which is the majority of people that's in that particular part of town.
But you said principles. What kind of principles resonate with you?
Well, the principles, a lot of the stuff that he talked about was like there's some songs in particular, I don't remember them off top, where he was telling them to stop doing crime. They got cameras everywhere. Get out the street.
That's not a good reason to stop doing crime.
It's not a good reason to stop doing crime. There's not a moral reason to stop doing crime. Stop doing crime because you're gonna get caught.
Can I finish? I'm just saying he knows how to talk to his audience. That's what I'm saying. You got to understand the consumer of your content. That's one of the things that we learned in briefing, is that you have to deal with the audience. You have to deal with who's actually consuming your content. Meaning, like, if you're gonna go walk into a place where nobody knows what 2 + 2 equals, right? And you're
real quickly, Victor, I think we get your point. I want everybody to be able to, because Bear hasn't been able to talk for a while, and I don't know if I'm really addressing each other's ideas. So I don't know if you want to address something they said, or or they let them address something you said, or Bear, you want to jump in?
I feel like I don't think they've listened to his catalog
at all.
I feel like what they're saying about him, his catalog speaks completely different of it. I've heard.
Let them know, Bear. Let them know.
I've heard 100% of his catalog, and
yes.
If I die today, I made a set proud.
That's what
he doesn't promote gang violence though. Like
That's his lyrics.
No, he promotes gang culture.
Look, hold on. Let me say
Violence
the verse.
comes
Let
with
me
it.
say the lyric. Fresh. Let me say the lyric before that. I could fly away, but I respect vows. If I die today, I made the set proud. That's his lyrics. He's more consistent in promoting. Look at all his tattoos. I listen to his albums. All his tattoos are gang affiliated, even to his death. And all his albums, the ones I listen to, over like 70-80% from Victory Lap to Mailbox Money to Crenshaw. I listen to a lot of his music. It's consistent with LA gang culture more than helping the community. So
get him, Bear. Get him.
I'm gonna say this. You can't. Where you from is where you from. Who you are is who you are. But I don't see him promoting gang. I don't hear him recruiting.
That's
niggas.
not true.
Hold on, let me finish.
okay, so what is that? The lyrics I'm rapping.
No, let him finish. Let him finish.
Wait, let me get my point out. Let me
All
talk.
right, go ahead.
What I'm saying is, I don't hear him promoting gang violence. I don't hear him recruiting young kids to gangs. I hear him tell you, stay out the street, get a job. I heard skits where and a young boy, he telling the young boy, oh, you know, stay in school, do this, do that. I haven't heard him glorifying the gangster life. I've heard him giving the harsh realities and the downfalls of it. I haven't heard him saying, yeah, this is what you want to do, this is what you need to be. I'm having telling niggas to get out of it.
He never stopped.
So Bear,
how can he tell folks to get out of the gang culture and he never actually got out?
Percentage wise.
But again, how can he tell? He's not telling people to get out of the gang. I
Did you hear
promise
me?
that. But he's not even practicing what he's preaching in. If that's the case, if you're saying he's telling them to get out of the gang, he's still repping 60s on every album. Every
only way out is death when you come to gangs.
So essentially he's telling all these kids that's listening to him that's in the gang, right? His
Let them stay in unless you're gonna die.
He's telling them to get out. So he's telling them to die. Blood in, blood out.
What I'm saying is he's not promoting gang life. He's not saying, hey, this is the way to go.
He literally he is representing.
I think the moderator. You have something moderate?
No, sir. I don't have anything.
He's speaking on 60s every time. I ain't never heard him talk bad about Rolling 60s Crip.
the lyric.
I never hear him renounce them. Right? I never hear him renounce gang culture. So he may not be promoting violence, but violence is an integral part of gang culture. So as long as he's repping 60s, as long as that's his forefront, he leads with that. He's not.
My thing is this: once you make a decision, you there. So I mean, like he's there, but he's not. I don't feel like
right. You can denounce that at any time. Stanley Tookie Williams wrote books where he's saying I made the wrong decision. The things I did in the name of the gang were wrong. I ain't heard Nipsey say none of that. And Tookie is his OG. Huh?
He was trying to get out. He was trying to get out Shanghai.
But again, that's now you're talking about what we were talking about earlier, where I can't take things at face value. So I can only go off what he said. If I'm gonna throw logic out and start looking at underlying context, then this whole conversation is a dub. The man wrote it in his book.
Off of death row. Logically, you gonna renounce that. He trying to get off death row.
Nah, there's you. So you don't think there's other Crips on death row? Every Crip on death row ain't denouncing it. So it doesn't apply across the board.
But you don't know what they denounced, and their case wasn't the biggest to us.
So
anybody can write a book. Anybody can get a message out from prison. You can write a letter, like any of that stuff. You can they have access to social media.
Let me just say this, just for the audience, so we can advance the conversation. I'm sure both Bear, you would agree that there are people who, just like John Gotti died of gangsters, there are Crips who die Crips and don't denounce Crips just because they're gonna die. I think that's Fresh's point, right? And then there's people like Tookie who have denounced it, and we're speculating on why he did or didn't denounce it. And your guess is as good as mine, but I think Fresh is saying I'm taking him at his word, because that's what he said. You're saying that he was doing it to get out of the chain gang. and we can't get any further than that at that point. So as far as going back to the Nipsey thing, correct me if I'm wrong, Victor, Bear, some freshly, but the two sides is, one side is saying because of his association and affiliation with the Rolling 60s Crips,
a domestic terrorist group.
Yeah, you would not want to
pedestalization.
Pedestalization. You wouldn't want to platform him. And then Bear and Victor, you're saying that even though he had that association, he promoted a lot of things that was great for the community, and he represented the community in a great way, and showed his love for the community. So even in spite of the other things, he's still worthy of being platformed. Is that a good summation of everybody's position?
We got a president with 34 felonies. I think he'll get a pass.
Okay, then.
So,
he'll get a pass from who?
Black people.
His neighborhood. His neighborhood.
Sorry, real quickly. I just want to make sure, because my understanding is the difference between a guy with 34 felonies and a guy with like Nipsey is I don't know what felonies Nipsey didn't have, but they're saying his affiliation and promotion of a gang. Now, if Trump was promoting a certain gang, I'm assuming y'all would say he shouldn't be platformed either. Is that true? So freshly,
he repping the boys. He called them out.
He's repping who?
What's that group? The Proud Boys. The Proud.
Is he a Proud Boy?
He called them out when he right before they started.
But is he a Proud Boy?
Is he a Proud Boy?
I don't know.
Look at that song. Like I said, that song. Again, if you don't know, I don't stress out. If this, I'm gonna ask Victor and Bear. I could fly away, but I respect vows. If I die today, I made the set proud. Is that glorifying the set?
I mean, I feel like standing on his word.
Do I think I look at it just standing on his word and represent where he's from. Like
once you made it,
but those aren't. So I guess the thing is, like, I think that saying that.
What do we know about the Rolling 60s? As like outside, what I mean is
they're one of the most violent of the gangs. I mean, my understanding is they're one of the most notorious of the gangs.
One of the biggest Crip gangs in LA, most strongest gangs.
I got that part. I got the general terminology of it, right? Well, when I talk about gang culture, right? These guys are really like born into it. They have been conditioned. They parents on this stuff. And when you think about it, and I'm not making no excuses. I'm not gang affiliated with no fucking body. Okay. What I'm saying is that people's conditions are always going to be the reason that they use to justify whatever they do. So when you're on the outside of something and you're judging it and you're not there, you got to be careful with certain conversations. And that's why I said all of my commentary about this situation is relative to how he represents where he's from and where they comfortable with seeing somebody. You're not going to be an outsider and go into a place like that and think.
Well, hold on, Victor. I don't know. My audio went. I'm sorry. Did y'all agree that he was glorifying? Yeah, or nay? I didn't hear that answer from neither one of y'all because my audio went out. That lyric I quoted, was that considered glorification?
No, not in my opinion.
Really?
I don't consider it glorification.
So real quickly, instead of getting to the specifics of it, Victor and Bear, would y'all say that he ever glorified or promoted the gang?
Y'all already said he did, so it don't matter.
I'm saying, but do you believe he did? But do you personally believe he did?
I don't think you can promote anything without being. If you're already part of something, you automatically promote it.
Okay, so Bear, do you agree with that? Bear, do you agree with that or no? What Victor just said?
I don't think he glorified it. He just was who he was, but he didn't glorify it.
So okay, well, if we can take glorify out because that's kind of like a archaic religious word.
He represented Crip, like yeah.
Now, would you say that he promoted it, Bear? At any point, did he promote gang culture at any moment in time in his 10 years in music?
I mean, it depends because I
just yes or no if you don't mind. If you don't mind, like, are you saying there is no definitive yes or no on this?
It is no.
So are you saying you can't recognize somebody's promoting something or not, or you're saying you're just unsure of his?
I don't feel like he was though. Y'all not finna give me to say nothing bad about him. Nothing against.
Well, I'm just trying to understand because you may not consider it bad to promote a gang. So I don't want to make that assumption about you. I just want to know if you thought he ever did do it.
He was glorifying or promoting nothing negative. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So you're not sure if he promoted the gang?
I don't feel like he promoted nothing negative. That's what I'm saying.
Would you say a gang is negative?
I don't feel like he promoted nothing negative.
Okay, I'm asking you a different question. Bear, do you consider a gang negative?
Negative. I'm saying that, and there's no else.
Okay, is this an example of the last clip we did about leaving the logical part of the conversation? Is that fair to say?
Come on, Bear.
Hey, is
Bear, you gotta stand on your 10 toes, man.
No, I'm being logical. I'm being logical because this is what I'm saying. I don't feel like he promoted.
Yeah, you said that 1,000 times, but I'm asking you.
Well, now forget about what you feel, what you think.
Mind you, you're a businessman, and Victor, we're all business people. We know about what promotion entails. If y'all are celebrities and I get y'all to do a commercial for me with my brand, you are promoting my brand. We all understand basic promotion, right? So what I'm saying, was Nipsey promoting gang culture? That's a business question. As a businessman,
I already said he was.
No, I know you. I'm talking about Bear.
Man, y'all ain't finna. I said what I said. I don't fit. No. No.
So okay. So this is my issue. I don't fresher. Y'all got anything to say? Because this is really y'all got anything to say about that? So for me, Bear, can we at least agree this is your spot, your place where you go, I'm going to depart from accountability of reason and logic?
No, I'm not. No, see,
because you're refusing the answer. You're refusing the answer at this point.
No, you're taking what I'm saying and spinning it. I said no because
I just asked the question.
I still feel like everything that he promoted. I just feel like all the.
That's a different topic. We already cleared that up. I'm asking you, did he promote gangs?
No, because he wasn't recruiting nobody. He wasn't telling nobody to join the gang.
We didn't say recruit, Bear. We said promote.
We didn't say recruiting.
Wearing the blue rags. Wearing the blue clothes.
Let me ask you this, Bear.
He was not out there trying to make niggas become.
Bear, let me ask you this question then. I have a business. If I ask you to,
he wasn't recruiting nobody to be.
Let me ask you a question, Bear. I have a business. If I ask you to do a commercial for me, are you promoting my brand?
I got a better
all I want you to do is wear my shirt and say, you don't know what all I've done is ask a simple question.
Was Puma promoting Crip?
It's still no. I get what you're saying. Every scenario you can take the twisted. I still get what you're saying, but it's still no.
Hold on. I just want to make sure if the audience hears it. I just asked Bear if I asked him to do a commercial for my business where he wears the clothes and says, "I look nice in this." I asked him, "Is that him promoting my brand?" And he said he's going to maintain. It's no.
I never answered that question.
Oh, well, do you mind answering it?
I didn't even get that far. I said it doesn't matter what scenario you bring up. My answer to the original question is still no. No matter what you bring up.
So what about what? That's the original question. Your answer is still no. But what about the question now?
I'm still put like this. We can just topic. That's how I feel on it.
So basically,
you're not going to answer.
Was Puma promoting?
I plead defensive.
That's what you should have learned from Trump.
I think you do agree with me, though. The funny thing, I think you do agree with me, but because of your love for Nipsey, you're bending the rules for him. And real quickly, Victor, that's my whole issue. And I brought this up numerous times on the shows. Is my biggest issue when we platform guys like Nipsey and T.I. and all these guys who are big into entrepreneurship and being smart and all that kind of stuff. Is the biggest group of people that are affected is not the people who are actually doing those crimes or even the victims, it's the sympathizers. There's people who, whenever we allow evil like that to go unchecked and undealt with, it lowers people's tolerance, higher people's tolerance of it to where it doesn't seem as bad as it used to seem. So now, if you go back to the 70s, you go back to the 60s. Put your mic
back a little bit.
Sorry. My friends who are African and stuff like that, in Zimbabwe, and they say they have gangsters over there too. But in Africa, in their communities, those gangsters, they're not celebrated. There's no rap album for those gangsters. The people know who they are, and they don't associate with them. They don't deal with them. It's the line is a little bit more clear. Over here, you can be one of the biggest domestic terrorists on your own people and support people like that. You see what Big U's going through? That's his OG. You see what Big U's going through right now, all this stuff with the extortion, all that kind of stuff? That's who Nipsey Hustle supported and reported to. And we're saying a guy like that, we're going to give him a platform to speak to the youth.
Who else gonna speak to him? They ain't finna listen to you.
No, that's your assumption. People have always been speaking to you, from Malcolm X to Martin Luther King to all the youth programs that I mentioned before.
That right there is arrogance, though.
Well, listen.
Let me say something. Let me say something, Bear. Because let me tell you why. In real,
hold on. Before you get to the why, what part was arrogance? I didn't hear that part.
Somebody else can speak to him. You bring up Malcolm X and everything else, and like they got.
I didn't say somebody else. I said people have always been speaking to them. They never stopped. Everybody's been doing it.
He went from where they was from. They're gonna listen.
People spoke to me when I was a youth, and I listened. So the thing is, people have always been speaking.
I'm saying specifically about LA gang culture. They're not gonna talk to nobody.
There's a church on every corner, and go to those ministries. They have countless stories of thousands of kids coming out of gangs. Thousands of kids come out of gangs all the time. You can go Google it right now on YouTube.
Victor, you act like the roller sisterhood is a third world country. They in LA.
It's in
It's
America.
a lot of opportunities.
One of
There's
the richest
There's
states in the
influences
country.
out there.
He brought up African warlords. I'm talking about trying to get to the point where it's relative. I'm talking.
No, I wasn't about the African warlords. You were saying that people that's conditioned. You act like they far removed from the Western society. LA is close in proximity to a lot of opportunities and other influences.
It's one of the richest states.
I understand. You guys are talking about tangible things, and I'm not saying that those items won't have an impact if they put together the right way. What I'm talking about is cultivating relationships with people that live there so they can actually get down to the root of the problem. I think it needs therapy. I think it needs a lot of other, like psychological healing to go along with it. Churches don't just fix things. If you don't know people, you're gonna look like a foreigner going into these places.
I agree with everything you said so far. Just so you know, Victor, I agree with everything you said, but I don't think that's proof that he should have a platform. But I do agree with everything you're saying.
But the thing, my question, going back to the original, if you're going to have a plan, right? Let's just say you got a plan to fix it, and it makes sense, and we're like, yeah, who are we gonna pick to execute the plan?
Nobody that's affiliated with gangs.
How do you win the hearts and minds of the people in that particular area to take what you're saying seriously?
Somebody that's consistent in the message, not contradicting themselves.
Who?
Not somebody who's promoting gang violence and saying they're helping the community. That's what I'm saying. Somebody who's not doing that. That's
my point.
That just shows where we at as a people that he's the best representation of for the youth. That says a lot about us.
Stop. Listen to what you're saying. We had somebody that we could have worked with if he had been alive long. I understand his own culture took him out, his own neighborhood took him out, right? But what I'm saying is, if you get somebody and you don't nurture the things around them, this will keep happening. So what I'm trying to tell you guys, even though nobody wants to see gang culture promoted, right? But if
I don't know, hold on. Why
let me finish because you're gonna stop me before I get there. Who do you replace Nipsey Hustle with?
But why do you assume we have to replace him?
Because the problem is that you guys are talking about the violence and the language and everything associated with gang promotion, right? And then there's plenty of documentation and stories about him trying to quell the violence. He absolutely worked with the police to try to get better police relationships on the ground in his own community, right? But if he got taken out, he didn't get a chance to build on that, right?
Hold on, you remember my question? No, I'm asking. Remember my question?
My question is still this.
What was your question? I didn't hear.
No. Remember, Victor asked the question. Hold on, sorry, Victor. You asked the question. You said, "Who are we going to replace Nipsey Hussle with?" I said, "Why do we have to replace him?" I'm still waiting for you to answer that question.
Why do you have to replace him? Because
yes, I'm impatiently waiting.
We actually had a person that had investment in his own community. There's nobody else that's there that can hold that same spot. Obviously,
I disagree with that. I mean, there's plenty of people. If you're aware,
and then now it comes back to who?
His business partners.
There's plenty of people. Hold on. There's people who are not even. There's plenty of. Again, that's the second That's one of the biggest states and one of the richest states. They have plenty of programs of people doing that stuff. It's happening.
Like
He's just
who
if
is
you
it?
ask about who
highlighted.
There's the police have programs, the community centers have programs, the libraries have programs, the church have programs, the schools have. Need I continue?
And Marcellus Wiley, a football player, said he donated
like you just named Marcellus.
donated a lot of money to
Yeah,
to stop
how about
gangs.
we do a show? How about we do a show with a bunch of names of people that have replaced Nipsey Hussle?
Well, hold on, but why did you still haven't answered the question? Why do we got? I've been asking you, why do we got to replace him? You go in and speaking about the things he did, but you don't say.
But I answered it already because the people in his community related to him.
No. It's not again. Everybody finds a reason to relate to people. I relate to you in some ways. I don't know where you live. I still relate to you in some ways because you said things that relate to me. You can relate to whoever you want to relate to, and you can not relate to whoever you don't want to relate to. That's a psychological thing. So again, we can't say the people who look like him killed him. So just like people related to him, he had people that look like him murdered. People murdered him. You don't know that if you would have had a bigger or a lesser impact on dealing with the gang violence as he did, because as far as I know, in my anecdotal experience and what we've seen is that he helped promote and proliferate gang culture. He made it cooler. He showed that you could be smart and be a gang member. He shows that you could be industrious and entrepreneurial and be a gang member. He helped build the gangs. He didn't hurt the gangs.
Wow.
I mean, if you diametrically opposed, there's no answer that anybody can tell you, though.
You mind clarifying that for me?
Meaning, like, if you're on one side of it, like we're divided on this topic, right? About I don't know.
And I appreciate y'all giving y'all's input too.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what the true division of it is, right? It is because it's just really just opinions about the situation. None of us live in LA. None of us know what's going on the ground. We do agree that gang culture is not helpful, and
to say it mildly.
I'm you know what I'm saying. But we also saw that Puma invested in him. We also saw him attract.
I don't get why you bringing that up. Okay.
Again, we get the business and the practical element of it. I'm with you on that.
If you guys would let me finish, I'm still going to come back to the fact that. Okay, if we're diametrically opposed, there's nothing that I can say that's going to change your mind. And I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm asking you for a solution since you don't agree. And how would you implement it? And that's what I'm listening to. Okay, got it. We don't like Nipsey Hussle. Cool. Find me another solution. Find me somebody else that we can highlight and bring attention to if that stuff is already being done.
My solution would be, because remember, and I just want to take everybody back, the audience as well, back to the original question, which was we talked about remarkable. We found out it meant somebody that we thought was worth platforming, basically, or worth, giving an audience to, right? And I'm saying that I'm saying that anybody that is doing the work, if they are representing or promoting any type of negative organizations, terrorist organizations, we would not give them a platform. They can still donate money. They can do things. We're not going to give them a platform to speak because I would do this, I would bring people to listen to Victor. Why? Because everything that Victor talks about, I may not agree with every single thing, but your general gist is not going to lead anybody in the wrong way. So I would platform Victor. I would platform Freshly. But the thing is, I'm not going to platform Suge Knight. I'm not going to platform Mob James, because the good that they have is going to come with them promoting gang mentality and gang thing, and that's going to affect the kids because, as to quote Charleston White, they don't recruit grown men, they recruit boys. And the allure and the pull is so strong, even private school kids in Yonkers want to be involved in the streets. That's how strong their organization is. They got Serena Williams crip walking during the Super Bowl. That's how strong their promotion is, how strong their pull is. And if a lot of us don't get in step with the right thing to do and say we're not going to allow people like that to share these big platforms and represent us, it's never going to change, because they make being a gangster look cool.
I think it'll change if we highlight the people that's doing the right work. Because like you're never gonna get away from people that's not doing the work.
You just open the door with people that's promoting, that's committed to violence. That's what the Crip gangs represent, the blood gangs. You open the door for.
Yeah, that.
I think he froze.
Yeah,
but
Wait,
sorry, go ahead, fresh. Go ahead, fresh, and then Barry, you up next.
Let me ask a question. If you see a we'll call him a skinhead. You see a skinhead, or in prison they're gonna call him a peckerwood. White supremacists to all encompassing, right?
Yeah.
If you see them get out, right, let's just say, because there are those of them who have denounced or or have gone good. They're not actively doing that stuff anymore. If they start doing good deeds and they still have their tattoos and they still have their memorabilia, and they go to white supremacist events. Now again, this is not talking about what they're actively doing, right? They may be, hey, I'm bringing school supplies to white supremacist events. Are we taking that guy serious, or are we counting him as a net positive? Without actively denouncing what he was doing, he just changed paths, right?
I need the announcement. I need to answer your question. I don't.
Yeah, I still fly the flag. I still got my ink.
I'm cool with that. Yeah, for sure.
Are we gonna go around? Are we gonna go around on that one, fresh or no?
Well,
let's go around.
I don't want nothing from anybody that's affiliated with that.
Right. So in terms of go ahead, Bear.
Man, you lost me to white supremacy. I ain't fooling with no way.
So this is where logic has to kick in, right? You guys are adding circumstance to it. It's the same thing. It is the same thing. If you remove yourself out of your personal box and just look at it from 3,000 feet up in the air, it's the same thing. They both came from violent cultures. They both promoted those violent cultures. They both did things in the furtherance of those violent cultures. And we're essentially saying that one of them, because they are doing positive things now, even though they don't denounce or they didn't get rid of any of their memorabilia, they didn't get rid of any of their ink. They actually haven't spoken negatively about the organization at all. They just, okay, now I am going into the community, right? So I am donating school supplies. I'm trying to get,
Well, you shared a lot of that stuff already. I want to add one point to what you said.
I just want to say this: the
bigger that person gets, the bigger what they represent gets too. If I have Victor representing if Victor's representing Vulcan Soapbox and Victor becomes the biggest podcaster in the world, guess what Vulcan Soapbox becomes? One of the biggest platforms in the world under his by association. I mean, that's just basic business, right? Can we all agree that's basic business?
Yeah.
I guess.
He's putting the Crips in business.
That's marketing 101.
Business.
Let me talk, right? I need to cook. Please don't interrupt me. I have because I have real world experience of what you guys are talking about in foreign combat countries. Okay, when you want to go into a different place, you have to do business with the warlords. You guys probably ain't never had that real experience, like where a guy got 300 bodies and he crossing over back and forth between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and that's the only guy that we got to work with to help get on our side. And so my experience is very unique compared to what everybody else's is. Okay, so it's not coming from it's coming from a place where I'm trying to solve the problem and create a stable security environment. Okay, there's been times where we go to places and we come in with our plan, and it don't make sense to the people who need the plan, that we know that they need the plan, but it doesn't go through the right channels. It sounds crazy.
Why do you think it doesn't go through the right channels?
Well, hold on, real quickly before that, Victor. I just want to say I do agree with you about that. I'm not saying you can't do business with them. I didn't want to interrupt, but I also want to say that, again, that's why I'm trying to do my best to say, look, I agree with that point, so we can move to the point of contention, because everything you said so far, I don't have a problem with.
Well, I get that, and I just want to be able to explain why I'm saying what I'm saying. I am not morally conflicted about this. Okay. So like, I don't give a damn what it is. It's about opinion about what looks right and what doesn't. And if it's familiar to the people, and if it can be used, and if it can be, I guess, transmuted the right way from the right person that they can relate to, then that's all that really matters.
There's a lot of ifs in there.
Yeah, and I don't think we disagree on that, Victor.
It's utopia. It's utopia.
I just think the issue with what you're saying to me is that I don't think you're really pinpointing a real issue between us, because I agree with what you're saying. If I needed to go to the rolling 60s to do business, to get access to those people to accomplish my goals, I'm gonna do it just like you would.
Yep.
But the thing is, you'd have to prove that we need to do that though to make your point make sense.
I don't.
No. But here's the thing. Let me even go further. When because I'm assuming you had some combat MOS where you were moving around in austere environments over in the Middle East. So your experience even on this panel is not unique. But that's different. My point is, America doesn't pedestalize that leader. They don't put him out as the guy to follow.
Mm-hmm.
They don't give him a platform. They actually keep that stuff. The fact that they work with them in any capacity, they keep it a secret.
Yes,
because it's negative.
That's going against your point.
That we're compromising morally with these morally reprehensible people. So what you're talking about is behind the scenes stuff. But we're talking about this is not who I am showing to my children as the guy to follow. That was the original question. Should Nipsey Hustle be platform? Should he be given a platform? That's not. I don't care how much positive he's done in his own environment, until he denounces the negative that he's done. All he's saying is, hey, you can still be successful even though you did this.
So
that's not the message that we're trying to push, is it?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? The companies that platformed him, should we be talking about them? Because Puma platformed him.
We don't got to pick one. We don't got to pick. We can discuss both.
I'm asking
that question. I'm asking that question.
We're shifting blame and accountability. We're talking about Nipsey in this conversation. We're not talking about Nipsey.
But I mean, that's
we're talking about
the
Nipsey
topic.
Hustle and
that's the topic. It's like, should they be promoted? Puma is promoting Nipsey. I said it from beginning. No.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
So,
no matter if it's Puma, if it's us, BET, the Grammy, it doesn't matter.
Hey,
he shouldn't be promoted, especially for the youth.
If you want to sell products, then they're gonna platform it. But
you can do that, yeah.
I'm with you on that. Again, Victor, we 100% agree on that.
But morally, I wouldn't do it.
That's the whole thing.
That was the question.
There we go. We're on the same page.
That was the point.
But
we're good.
I was talking. Only thing I was talking about is that I understand why they promote him. I understand why his side of town is going to promote him.
100% agree. 100% agree.
You said his side of town, but the Inglewood Bloods is not promoting him. His gang caused a lot of pain in that same. It's like when y'all think about when he created those businesses, it's for the community. The Bloods can go over there though. Was it really for the community, or was it really for that section of Rolling 16 Crips?
Because that man did.
It's a subculture of black people that's benefiting from his businesses. It wasn't all black people.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, that's why I said all of his stuff is just localized. He didn't get a chance to.
Very localized. We're talking about, because I went to Slauson. I went to that area.
Yeah, me too. I've been down there, and it's not the big ass area that the people think it is. You know what I'm saying? It's not
the big area
like everybody thinks it is. You know what I'm saying? And what I'm saying is his impact was local. All of the other stuff that came national came through his music and everything else. But we talking about, I get his influence and how it's being perceived.
Facts.
Whatever.
Facts.
I am not dismissing that. I wouldn't morally put my brand.
We're all on the same page.
All right, there we go.
We're on the same page.
Well,
we just got Bear left.
Let's hear from Bear now.
We
just got Bear left.
What?
He said I was over here trying to chill.
Be real with y'all, because I still go back.
We all on common ground. We ain't on you, Bear.
The hood. Them kids ain't listening to none of y'all niggas, but they're listening to them.
Yeah, they don't
Right.
know you.
They definitely listen.
The problem is, what is Nip saying?
But they're listening to him.
They will listen to Nip, but I'm not gonna pedestalize Nip if he's not saying the right thing.
But hold on, this is the thing about that. Now you're trying to control it. Go, oh, you got to say this in order to do this. Well, come on, man. What is we doing?
Yeah, yes, there's a positive message and there's a negative message.
But what I'm saying, he was a producer. He wasn't promoting negativity.
So if kids involved, we should.
Shout out to Bear consistency.
He has 3 mixtapes called "Bullets Don't Have No Name."
Somebody getting shot,
bruh. And listen, bullets don't have a name. 3 came out right before the marathon. Like that's what I'm saying. It's a net positive and a net negative. You're saying because he started to do stuff later in life. He didn't even 180 on the negative stuff that he did. He never denounced the negative stuff he did. All he's saying is you could do everything that I did and still be successful.
He didn't have to. He didn't have to. See, y'all looking for words. I'm looking at action. I'm looking for the fact that that man was, like he said, he was.
But his impact is local. His action impact is local. His
music is global.
His music is global. He's telling people who never even thought about joining the Crips. Like,
I ain't got my point across ever since this came up. Let me finish. Let me talk for a second. Because every time I go to talk and I get cut off. Let me talk for a second.
Yes, sir.
What I'm saying is this. Now, like I was saying, he was working with the police department, okay? He did. That man was working. That man had a treaty. When he was alive, they had a treaty in LA. If gang violence was down a whole lot before he died. He had a treaty going on. He was doing a lot of different things in the community. So I don't want to hear about what he say. I look at actions because they always speak louder than words.
And his actions was he was still a Roll 60 Crip. That's his actions.
Yeah, can I say something real quick too? Because this thing right here,
actions was showing.
Bear. This is what you just explained. Because I want the audience to hear
his
this.
actions is Crip walking.
Bear.
Jobs in the neighborhood. His actions was he had a learning center.
He had that plus the Crippin'. He had both. That's all we say. Yes,
one does not excuse the other. That's why I said on the scale, you can add everything positive he did. That doesn't change the fact that he was. He's a gangbanger.
I just ain't one of the people that feel like you got
to be. All right, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Bear. Bear.
Hold on, I can't hear what Bear is saying right now. I can't hear what Bear is saying.
I want to ask him a question.
You don't have to be perfect, but do you have to be a net negative or a net positive? Which means do you have to have more? Like, I'm not perfect. None of us on this panel are perfect. Are we saying that no one's saying that you have to be perfect? It's a net positive and a net negative. Is your whole package more negative or more positive? His whole package, everything he has is negative.
I think we're just critiquing the negative because that's just us as black people. Always
that's the biggest. I think that's the biggest. He promoted that the most. Not just critiquing. He was more consistent promoting that.
Us as
we've acknowledged that he has positive impact. No one. I don't think anyone on this panel has said that.
They talking about making a business decision, bro. That's the point.
I'm talking about, are we going to promote? Is Nipsey Hussle who we're going to pedestalize?
He's had more of a positive impact than I have in the world. There's no doubt about that. But he's also had a massive negative impact that I couldn't even dream of.
That's the point. Yes, he's done positive things.
Is that okay for me to say, Bear? Can I say that? Is that cool?
See, listen, this is the thing about it. But you know what? Too, I'd rather deal with somebody up front with this shit than somebody hiding it. So
listen, one of the best
again, that's the lesser
we have
evils.
Against street. One of the best tools that we as a community have against street culture or gang culture or the street life is the fact that, hey, there's only 3 ways out of it: jail, or really two ways: jail or death. Either you're gonna die or you're going to jail, right?
But how is that out of it? How is jail out of it? I don't get how jail's out of it.
Because you just not in
out of the streets. Not in the streets anymore.
You ain't in the streets no more.
The only 2 ways out of the streets: a dead or in jail. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Two ways out of the street life, because once you get out of into prison, that's where a lot of people convert and change their life and come out different. But my point is, one of our biggest tools is saying like, hey, there's only negative that comes from this, right? When you get Nipsey Hustle and Bear, you were saying that he's not promoting it. Up until he died, he was saying there's a third option. You could do all the negative stuff. You could rap about it, and then you could be successful. I never seen a better recruiting tool. You can do all.
If you understand marketing and business, that's
what I'm saying. I've never seen someone, hey, you can do all this bad stuff. It doesn't matter, bro, because if you rap about it and people feel your rap, you can be successful. You millions of dollars to do stuff. And then you also have to laud authenticity. Hey, but you can't just rap about somebody else's life. You have to rap about your stuff. So that means you have to do it. So I have to join a gang. I have to do gang things, and then I have to survive long enough to rap about it. And I'm good. No.
The authenticity, right? You was the main one saying you want your rappers to be authentic. You were the main one saying that.
You have to watch the pod back. I never said that.
Talk about authenticity, that you want them to be authentic.
I was speaking on the culture, the essence. That's not my privately held belief.
You can't just be authentic. You got to be authentic in who you are. That's what we were speaking about, the authenticity. We were talking about authenticity as if that's what
he was authentically a gang member.
Yeah.
And therefore he doesn't get the platform.
But again, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying he was a fraud. I'm saying that if you want to be, if Nipsey Hustle is on your pedestal as the path to success, then you have to do everything he did.
It's a very attractive path.
You can't just skip gangbanging and rap about it. You have to actually do it. Because guess what? This is the path. Hey guys, look, Nipsey Hustle. He's a success. He's a positive influence.
Hold on, Barrett's saying something.
Listen,
he was frozen on my screen.
See that the kid has to actually do what he did.
Add a D to that.
From a dummy, what not to do. You could look at somebody and see that ain't what I want to do.
Can you? I don't know. The gang recruitment is not dead, and yet guess what? We only see niggas die and go to prison from gang culture, and yet somehow niggas still keep getting members.
I feel, but see,
like we gotta understand, and I mean, come on, those of us who started businesses and had to recruit and all that kind of stuff, that is recruitment, making it look cool. Talking about all the different opportunities. That's how you recruit in the military. That's how you recruit in any type of endeavor. You recruit by showing how cool it is and advertising all the advantages that come with it.
No,
when they recruit you to the Marines, they don't tell you about how many austere environment, how many times you have to sleep in the dirt, how often you get shot at. They don't tell you that stuff.
They were telling me about all the women and all that kind of stuff.
You're gonna get a Charger.
Yeah, you're gonna get a Charger, bro.
Yeah.
Listen, when you go to tech school and come out, bro, the girl's gonna be on you. You're gonna look crazy in the dress uniform. The dress blues is gonna get you to. That's what they tell you. They push the quote unquote positive stuff about it without acknowledging the fact that that the rest of the iceberg is all BS.
Yeah, and the other part too is like, glad somebody else is up here with some military experience, because like if you put two uniforms in front of you, you can pick up this Crip flag, or you can go put on this U.S. flag and this uniform, go get these benefits.
They're gonna wave that flag.
Which one you gonna put on? You know what I'm saying?
On the left side.
Most of my friends growing up, they was gonna put on that gang flag over that military flag.
I get that. You know,
you got more women that way.
So in my point, and so like
you have to shave your chin hairs off.
Hold on, real quick. Only one of those uniforms don't require, and that's the problem with the net positive. Listen, as a when you throw that flag on, violence is required of you. It comes with it. You could be a medic in the military and never commit violence ever.
Yep.
And they have rules. Just war. They got certain rules they have to abide by. And if you overseas doing what you want to do, you will end up with an Article 15, whatever they call that stuff, and they will bring you to court when you get back over here.
Yeah.
The other thing is too is that once you got those two options presented to you, the psychological imprint that you have is going to determine if you're going to pick up your flag or you're going to put on the uniform and get those name tapes across your chest and go represent overseas somewhere. And that the only thing that makes that different from person to person is if they have an example of it being successful. And if they don't see a successful example of it, they don't have nothing to compare it to.
That's what Nipsey provides. A successful example of it.
He's the biggest. He's one of the best recruiters for the Rolling 60s we ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it should be pedal.
Big U's wet dream.
Oh my God.
Calm down. See, why do you have to do that?
My fault that was bars.
Now you made it weird.
Yeah. Cause like I can't in effect be a veteran and then advocate for people, joining the gang or represent anything that joins it, that aligns with it. That's why earlier when I was speaking about it, I'm like, well, I look at things like why are people gravitating towards it, right? What would replace it and how could you change it? But no, that's not the question. I understand if you're talking about pedestalizing something, that's way different because perception is reality for a lot of people because they're not going to do any
especially for children,
especially children,
especially
the kids.
So in reality too, promoting gang culture is no different than promoting slut rap. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say feminism is thug life for women.
The only reason why I would say that gangster is worse.
That's a crazy tie-in.
The only reason why I would say promoting gangsterism is worse than slut rap is because gangsterism.
I watched you connected.
It is a lot more organized, has been around for a lot longer, and it's men.
Yeah, they don't keep people like Amber Rose, like what's his name? He's about to come home now. The gangster disciple leader, Larry Hoover. They had him under 30, 40 years. They looked at him as a domestic warlord. I know he got into his political career later on, but you don't do that with women that's promoting slut culture. We're talking about men, testosterone. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say real quickly because I mean, I don't know if Bear's coming back on again, but we can just kind of go around. Oh, he's okay. I was gonna say, okay, if he's coming back, then I was gonna say we can just kind of go around and okay, but Bear's back now. So
I'm limited because for something going on with my phone not charging, so I ain't gonna be.
No, it's the Rolling 60s doing that to you.
You wild now.
You petty.
You wild. Petty.
Yeah.
So let me take it a little bit from the argumentation and the passion on that part and just say why it's so important to me, which we've all been saying here and there, and anybody can go afterwards on why their position is important to them. But for me,
can you go last now?
Huh?
Can you go last?
It don't matter. I don't mind going last. I mean, I guess we can just go around.
I'll go ahead and start off. What I was saying as far as the idolized, why he should be idolized. A lot of us said it. Vulcan focus on this point pretty well as far as promoting. It's clear that he's promoting the gang violence, and you don't want somebody like that promoting such hatred, such violence, and it's contradicting himself where he's promoting helping the community. It's confusing for the youth. I don't think that's a good representation for the youth morally. That's not a good idea for our community because in our community, we, like I said, we suffer, according to the CDC, over 50%, most of the people are dying by gun violence, and gangs contribute a lot to that. So that was my reasons for early why somebody like that should not be idolized or glorified in any sense, especially for the youth, especially for the youth. So that's my closest thought.
Victor?
I just think it's overall risky, and it cuts off a lot of opportunities if you're trying to scale at some point. It's going to always be an obstacle if you're doing business, but I do see the value of it in a localized area. So it's not whether or not it has, whether or not you consider something being pedestalized, I think that's kind of subjective. And, on some ends, it's just doing business.
He was doing crip business.
Yeah, exactly.
Bear, you want to go? What's just kind of sum up like 2 minutes or so what your point is?
I still feel like you should get the meat from the message and stop trying to dissect the messenger. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it ain't even you could get a message. Like, you ever seen a crackhead tell somebody not to do dope? You know what I'm saying? Like,
you should listen. Yeah.
Right. So it may not say that to glorify, you know what I'm saying, his gang culture or whatever, but if he's deterring people, he's telling you don't be like me, I don't see nothing wrong with that. He's telling you be better than me, don't be like me. And I don't see nothing wrong with that at all.
That would be awesome if Nipsey was doing, if that's what he was doing. He definitely was not doing that.
That's what I got from a lot of his music.
Can you give us a quote of where Nipsey did that, please?
No, I really can't.
I'm about to say, give me one time when Nipsey denounced cripping. He never did it.
So you know what that would be called for the audience? That'd be called an argument from ignorance. You're basically making an argument, but you're saying you don't know that he actually ever said that.
I'm just saying I've heard his music like a lot. And I've never heard him recruit.
No. What you said was don't be like me, be better than me.
You can go look at it. I've seen him. He said that in interviews many times.
Artistic expression is something else than just what physical representation is.
I agree, but if that is your forward facing representation, then that still is that's still recruitment. That's still pedestalization.
I'm with you. I understand that. Like, that's why I said earlier, perception is reality for a lot of people. They don't know. You don't walk up to people and introduce yourself with your music. They want to look at your exterior and they're gonna make whatever judgments that they're gonna see off of that. That's what I mean by when I say.
Well, the music comes first when it comes to artists, especially for our generation.
But
that's their introduction.
But the music is more important to the listener and the fan. But when we talk about pedestalizing and representation, perception, nobody has to hear anything that you do. They just have to see your impact and your influence on others and decide if they want to go with it. Then they look at who you influence, you know what I'm saying, from that point. Just like if you want to promote to the gender neutral rainbow community, right? You're not gonna go get Andrew Tate.
Sorry, real quickly, did Fresh, did you already say yours? So I know Enos went, Victor went, Bear went, and then I think it's on you now, Freshly. Just a summation of your point.
So my point is that if we're talking about pedestalization and promoting someone who's promoting negative, I don't mind that we have someone who's been through some things. I'm not saying that they need to be perfect. What I need is the message to say what I went through is not the right way. As long as you're saying that you can still be successful via the negative ways that I got here, you are pedestalizing and promoting that lifestyle. And even if you take it to a business standpoint, we have to consider how much does the business care about the community, right? Does Puma? Do you think Puma cares about us, or are we a vehicle? So yeah, who's the most popular out there? Yeah, I'm gonna pick Nipsey Hussle. I'm gonna give him a shoe. That doesn't moralize what Nipsey Hussle's message is. And at best, Nipsey Hussle's message, and I'm not knocking him because I like his music, but at best, he was a walking contradiction. At best, he's saying do positive things while still representing one of the most morally reprehensible organizations that in America. So we when to what Bear said, this is gonna be the last thing I said. Bear said get the meat from the message. I'm saying take the whole message. What I think what you're doing is taking what you want from it and leaving everything else. But that's not the full meal. If you're going to judge somebody based on what they're doing, you have to judge them based on all the stuff that they're doing. Take the entire chicken and weigh it. You don't just peel off the meat and leave the bones, because that's still part of the chicken.
Yeah. So for me, you know, I'm gonna start off by reading this Romans 1:32. It says that those who practice evil and also approve of those who practice evil are worthy of death. So it's not just people who are actually doing it, but if you're approving of people who are doing those kind of things, you're guilty like they are, because the bigger group is always going to be those who are not doing it but approving of it. We know from World War II what they had the Germans do after they got rid of all this, you know, the war ended, they surrendered, all that kind of stuff. They made those Germans walk through those camps to see what was actually going on, because they wanted them to be able to see all the things that they allowed to happen in their backyard. My issue, and going to my point of this thing, we have Michael Eric Dyson, a very prominent Black scholar who could promote so many different Black people in the community. I think Victor would be a great guy to pedestalize and give platform to in the community. I'd have rather Michael Eric Dyson have mentioned him. Now, obviously, hopefully we get there at some point in time. Why do we got to accept the gang membership and the gang promotion when we got plenty of guys who are talking about entrepreneurship and positivity that don't have that negativity attached to it? Because as one grows, the other is going to grow. If I'm a gang member and I'm a businessman, as I get more successful in business, I'm promoting myself. So also the gangster part's promoting. If I become a more famous gangster, it's helping support my businesses as well. That's basic business. Everybody understands that. So if anybody suggests that it's not promotion of both of them at the same time, the bigger that he gets, just doesn't understand business yet. You know, you heard it saying all publicity is good publicity. There's a reason why that saying is there. Now, that's not always true, but it's generally true. Kanye West can say anti-Semitic things. Kanye West can do hip hop. He's one of the biggest names in the world.
Yep.
So my point is just saying this. We have erudite, an intellectual on the Drink Champs who's talking about how remarkable this guy is. That's a gang member, when there's so many folks that are trying their best to do the right thing. We all grew up around environments where it would have been cool to become a gang member. We'd have got more girls off becoming a gang member.
It was almost expected.
It was almost expected to become that. I got people try to recruit me a couple of times to do that kind of stuff. The thing is, it took being a real man and not being cowardly to say, I'm not going to go that route. But that's not what gets put to the forefront. It's the guy who joined the gang and it does something positive. I'm doing something positive, but I didn't join the gang. He doing something positive, but he did join the gang. But the one we platform, the one that we praise, the guy who did the gang and did something positive too, isn't he the lesser of the two men? Snoop Dogg already admitted he was fearful. He did the interview with Jada Pinkett. A lot of these gang members were afraid. They were cowards, and their brother didn't join the gang, or somebody they knew didn't join the gang, and took the ridicule and the hazing in their community because they didn't join the gang. Why are we not celebrating that person? There's the kid who felt like he had to join the gang. Nipsey is a different story. Nipsey was like, I guess, made a promise that he was gonna like join the gang, and you know, I think he asked Charleston. I was talking about. He asked somebody, you know, why you became a gangster, and Nipsey promised he was gonna become a gangster and put everybody and rep the set really hard. So he had like this heroic journey that he felt he had to go on in quest to become this big gangster and stuff like that. And he never recanted that. He still supported it until the day he died, and it cost him his life. So I think that when we have intellectuals like Michael Eric Dyson, or you know, entrepreneurs like Bear supporting that stuff, I think it's sending a wrong message to the audience, and that's why to me it's a big deal, and that's why to me it's not just an intellectual conversation or fun conversations, because all of us got to look over, you know, behind our back. We're at the ATM because little kids think it's cool. You get more girls, you get the fame, and it doesn't cost you anything to be a gang member, because you can still do all the things that Victor's doing, all the things that Vulcan's doing, all the things that Freshly Enos are doing, all the things that Bear's doing. And my affiliation is not going to stop me from getting access to anything. That's the wrong message.
Even the numbers don't support it, because for every Nipsey, there's probably 20 to 25 Crips who are dead or in jail.
Yeah.
It's not
for every.
And that's the difference between fearless recklessness and true competence. Because competence, you're aware of your consequences, and unfortunately, you know, a lot of gamers are not aware of the consequences, and that's why they go out the way they go out. So
I think
that's confusing the youth.
And this is why I talk about the crossroad of making a disciplined versus an undisciplined decision every time. And if your options are already capped, meaning like the people around you can't present you with a different way out, and all you're getting is red or blue. You know, based on the side of the street that you live on, and nobody you know has been surrounded by people that have left where they're from. And you know, those family bonds are the hardest ones to break across the board, no matter where you live. You know, like the romantic, the stress that you feel maybe in romantic relationships, a lot of it is just like the same relationships you got in your family, where you're trying to be heard or be seen, or get somebody else to take your guidance and your leadership or whatever. And then it's a constant conflict, you know, where you're trying to find your independence and be the person that you're meant to be, but you can't do it where you are. You have to step out. What was that verse? What they say, a man is more famous in another town than he is where he's from. What?
A prophet not respecting his hometown.
Yeah, a prophet not respected in his own town, right? And everybody has to leave where they are in order to be seen, or at least be presented with a different audience so they can see, so they can have something else to compare it to.
So my audio went out real quick,
at
Victor. I just want to say this, and this is something that me and Enos have discussed a number of times, because I've been in the biggest cities in America, and I've also been in smaller cities in America. There's a difference between these big city hoods and these small town hoods. These guys in these big city hoods are seeing everything. If you're in Houston, if you're in Chicago, if you're in LA, if you're in New York, Manhattan's right there. They're watching, they see everything. They don't have the same excuses as somebody in Mississippi, some small town in Mississippi that's in the hood. That's way different. I mean, I know you agree with me, but real quickly, one quick example, Gilly talks about that. He's from Philly. Philly's the 6th biggest city in the country, right? Gilly said he went to New Orleans and he was like, I thought we was poor. They are po down here. So my point is saying that these guys in LA and New York and Chicago and Houston, being in Houston and stuff, I tell you that stuff, these guys had access to everything. They can have no excuse why they chose to live the gangster lifestyle, because they got the Galleria, they got downtown, they got midtown, they got celebrities walking around, they got Hollywood, you know, and you know, they have so much access.
Even those poor kids got the internet in their pocket.
Yeah.
So for the last decade, that's not an excuse either.
Internet in the pocket.
No, it's the truth though, because that's one of the things I'm saying. It's like this thing right here tells you how you think. You see, like this thing right here, if you pulled up anybody's search history, it'll tell you what they think about. What they interact with.
But the phone is not telling them what to think.
All right,
The phone
fellas,
is
we got wrapped up.
supporting
It's almost
his
4
bias.
hours.
Yeah. I'm
If you look
saying
at my
like,
mom's phone, ain't none of that stuff in there.
yeah, exactly. Because it lets you know what they pay attention to, is what I'm saying. And if they don't use it at all, it'll let you know what they use it for. So we just got to use our technology better. We got no excuses. People's connected all over the world, and they can get whatever answer they want. And people's figuring this stuff out long before YouTube, before social media, before the internet, and they got to pick better. You know, they got more options.
All right, I didn't see you like this. I've been watching for a little bit of Victor. You got a lot to. This is a different conversation today, man. I'm glad you was definitely on to experience this with us and give you perspective. It was always a pleasure to have you on, man. And I got it was fun, Fresh and Vulcan. So let's go ahead and
Bear.
Oh my God, Bear too. So we might just need to do a part 2 of this.
I mean, I think we pretty much said everything we have to say on this.
I think it's well beat to sleep.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, if you think we got
I don't like
part
that.
2,
I don't like that.
All right, y'all. So thanks for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe. Shows every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank y'all for tuning in.
All right.
All right, fellas.
Was that energetic enough?
No, it was terrible.
All right. All right.